All right, guys. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the stream. Welcome if you are new here. Thank you guys so much for waiting patiently for the intro to finish up, but for tuning in. Corey, what's going on, man? You're accepting the challenge? Well, we have two challenges today, two goals. Membership goal of 25, maybe 50. We can push it. And then 10 super chats. We'll see if we can hit it. We do have quite a bit to go over and discuss today, guys. And right off the bat, both Corey, the Legend Landiga, and Metal Gear Ray, right off the bat, boom, boom, 5 memberships gifted each, 10 already. Ray's like, Corey beat me to it. Oh, and there's Boss. Boss is right on time. Boss was very happy with you guys yesterday. He was desperate for treats. We did hit the goal. He got a couple of his treats. So, Corey, Ray, thank you so much.
I'm no hero. Never was. Never will be.
And for Ray, I'll give you the other Metal Gear soundbite.
But that was some fancy shooting. You're pretty good.
And yeah, I'll give you guys a rundown of the topics that we're going to be discussing. And so, since 10 memberships were just gifted, I do want to let you guys know we are doing a members lounge today. The last members lounge we did was a reaction members lounge. I'm trying to make sure I go into these members videos or streams with topics with actual, so people know what they're walking into. The last one we did was a reaction stream for Call of Duty Black Ops 6, kind of figuring out, is it as bad as it seems? The members launch today is also going to be another reaction-based one, except it's going to be reacting to this video from this YouTuber called Any Austin that I came across, and he's talking about GTA Vice City, but in a really interesting way. And I thought, I find this fascinating. So I figured we could react to that, check it out. We're all hyped for GTA 6, also a little bit sad that it was delayed, but, always cool to kind of reminisce and go back and check out games like GTA Vice City. What did I say, Black Ops 6? Yeah, I meant Black Ops 7. I don't know what I said. But yeah, if you did get gifted a membership, you'll be able to access that members content. Be sure when you're done here to go check that out. And if you enjoy it, consider, becoming a monthly paying member. It really helps the channel. We are completely fan funded. I can only do this because you guys make it possible. So thank you to everybody who supports. Can't do it without you, literally. Boss, bro, listen, man, I get it. I know you hear my, the pitch of my voice going up, but it's not time yet. All right? We'll get there. I have some damn faith, boss. Anyway, JMR, what's up? Tarnished. Dwayne says happy Wednesday. Irfin, what's up, man? Yeah, I have that article you posted, by the way, Irfin. I don't know if we'll get to that. That might be a bonus. Maybe that could even be like a bonus. Well, that's unfortunate. I was going to say a bonus members lounge thing, but then I realized, wait, Irfin, you're not a member. You can't become a member. But maybe we'll be able to cover it. 1 year till GTA. Oh, yeah. Oh, wait. Yeah. I didn't even plan that, by the way. I didn't even plan that. You're right. Exactly 365 days until GTA 6 releases. I did not plan to make Vice City the focal point of the members launch today. So that works out nicely. Boss, chill. I know, Eric. Like, I don't want to like lock him out. But look at him. He's literally like trying to push me. Like, what do you want me to do, man? I mean, I know what you want me to do, but you would think this cat would have some idea that like it's never immediate, dude. It takes a little bit. Sometimes 10 minutes, sometimes an hour. Just relax. All right. Let me give you a rundown of the topics that we are going to be discussing and going over today. I did see that, by the way. Megabonk withdrew from the Game Awards. Yeah, I think that was kind of unprecedented. Yeah, Ryan, I see a lot of people talking about Half-Life 3, and I'm not a person that's anticipating Half-Life 3, not like really into Half-Life, but I've obviously been very aware of the memes of the was it 27-year or 21-year buildup or something like that. Like Half-Life 3 it's like a mythical game. So to see that there seems to be something potentially happening and it might be real and it might be announced very soon is exciting. Even as somebody who's maybe not interested in the game, it's exciting because you don't see things like this very often in the games industry. And so it's cool to see people get so worked up and begin to dream so hard, just to potentially be let down. We don't know, but yeah, I mean, if that's something that's announced, we'll talk about it, we'll cover it, we'll see what's going on there. And who knows? Maybe Half-Life 3. I don't know if that would be like a PC exclusive or if that would end up going everywhere. I'm not sure, but I guess we'll continue to wait and eventually find out. Petrov, what's going on? Mr. B, you've never played a Valve game. Interesting. I don't have much experience with Valve games. Yeah, the game that I've told you guys that I really played from Valve was Left 4 Dead 1 and 2. So for me, like, if it were up to me, this would be Left 4 Dead 3 getting announced, personally. But, seemingly can't go wrong with Half-Life 3, By the way, guys, before we get into these topics and these discussions, do me a favor. If you haven't already, please take a moment and hit that like button. We're sitting at 28 likes. Let's see if we can bump that up to 50. It really helps the channel, and it lets me know you enjoy the content. And more importantly, it helps with YouTube's algorithm. I wouldn't ask if it didn't help with YouTube's algorithm. So if that's the only way you can directly help the channel out, please do so. Tarnished, you're saying, or wait, Carlos, you're saying, I've been playing Valve games since 2002 on both console and PC, but I used to mainly play on Xbox 360. Tarnished says, yesterday I slept while you were live streaming. Forgot to turn my phone off. Woke up after a half hour. I was talking about the haters. Yeah, I do apologize for that. Although I know a lot of you guys don't mind, but I got to do a better job of not veering too far into that territory because frankly, I always feel guilty afterwards because it gets too far away from the purpose of this channel. You know what I mean? The purpose of this channel is to talk about video games, mainly PlayStation, obviously. And when I'm 2 hours deep into kind of ranting about something that frankly has nothing to do with either of those things, it's like, what are we doing here, man? So, but again, I know some of you guys don't mind that, but I do apologize anyway. No way, boss needs to be disciplined. Newspaper on that furry hiney. He's being good now. Hellbound comes in though. Hellbound the legend, he comes in, he drops another 5 membership gifts for you guys. And just like that, we are already, before we dive into these topics, sitting at 15 members. So thank you guys so much for that. Corey, Ray, Hellbound, and anybody else, if you want to contribute, we are now 10 away from hitting the first goal today. And the first goal is always the most important because, yes, that's what is needed for a boss to get his fix. But Hellbound, thank you so much, man, and I'll give you your soundbite for that. All right. Yeah, I agree, Corey. I agree. It's got to be done in moderation. Schmidt says member train. He wants the member train. We'll see. We'll see, Schmidt. It's going good so far. But some of the topics we're going to be talking about today, the first major topic is Ghost of Yotei. Okay, so there was a significant update announced for Ghost of Yotei. The first major update, New Game Plus, but they're adding quite a bit of content with this New Game Plus update. It's going to be a free update coming in just a couple of days. So we're going to cover that, go over everything that entails, and probably talk a little bit more about Ghost of Yotei. And we have Corey the Legend Landiga coming in. He's dropping the 10 bomb on you guys. We need some W's in the chat right away. Right away. For Corey dropping 10 membership gifts on you guys. He says it's for the boss. Corey's got you. They got you, boss. Don't worry. I love how he just looks around. He's like, I don't know how. He doesn't know how to react. Well, get hype, boss, because it's time.
Boss, do you read me? It's time to feed the beast.
He's very happy you didn't keep him waiting long. Here you go, boss. Can't give you too much now. All right, that's more than enough. And Luna, I'll give you some when he's finished. Corey, once again, thank you so much, man. You dropped 15 membership gifts, not even 20 minutes into the stream. So thank you for getting us to the first goal. Thank you to everybody who contributed to that. We'll see if we can, by the time we get to the end of the stream, hit the second goal, which will be the 50 mark. I would say I would do reps. I actually don't have my dumbbells up here right now. You do dual sense reps. I don't know. I did that like once, and I don't know. It was like, was it funny? I don't know if it was funny or just cringe, or probably just cringe, but we'll figure something out. Oh, you know what we could do actually? If we hit 50 members today, I'll play a couple of those songs that some of you guys made. Rich Rod was begging. Somebody else, Gord. I don't know if he's here today. He said he made a song, but I wasn't sure if he was able to send it over. So we could do that at the end if we hit 50. I don't know if that's a reward or a punishment for you guys. I'm not sure. But Digital Dude. Oh, I see. Okay. Rapping again. Yeah, so we're going to talk about Ghost of Yotei. Mr. B's hype for that. And we're also going to talk about the PlayStation Black Friday deals. I have no idea. I meant to cover this in the video that I put out today. Completely overlooked it. Completely forgot. So I will make up for that by going over those deals today and letting you guys know what Sony's planning to do for Black Friday. I know that a lot of people wait specifically for Black Friday for, certain things that go on sale or certain deals with PlayStation. We're going to be talking about something a little bit different, but I think it's actually very relevant to the larger, broader conversation that we have had and will continue to have regarding PlayStation's future, the future of platforms across gaming, the future of, well, I guess we could say like where gaming is headed, right? We see that things are changing. We see that things are in flux, things are in motion, and everybody's, I think, at this point trying to figure out where's this headed? What does this all lead to? And we have this really surprising update where Unity and Epic Games have announced a out of nowhere partnership where developers will be able to publish games within Fortnite with Unity. And I think this is something that's absolutely worth paying attention to because it's another signal. Like, this is a pretty significant partnership between two major companies, an entire company that has one of the most, most widely used game engines in the world. I think that what we're seeing here with this deal is a potential glimpse at what's to come, for the future of gaming. To a degree, not completely, but, I'll explain what I mean when we get to that topic. And something else I do want to mention is we are going to talk a little bit more today about Sony going after Nintendo, so to speak. If not going after Nintendo, starting to take the Japanese market much more seriously. We did discuss this yesterday, but I feel like I got, once again, lost in the sauce where I'm going with this crazy analogy, and I'm going on and on with that analogy for way too long, and I think I got too far away from actually talking about the whole point of what, we were supposed to be talking about. So, this is a basic rundown of what we'll be discussing. We're going to start with Ghost of Yotei. Garrett, what's going on? Hope you're doing well, man. Someone made a horror game inside of Fortnite. Interesting. Boss, just so you know, Luna wants her treats next, so. Tarnish, you're saying this is so annoying. YouTube stream is buffering like crazy. I'm way too late now, even though my internet is extremely fast. Before we dive into the first topic, I do want to ask you guys, has anybody else been experiencing this issue? I'm just trying to figure out if it's something to do with YouTube or maybe something on my end. It says for me I have an excellent connection. You never get notified, Carlos. Yeah, that's something that people have been complaining about for years. It's very annoying. YouTube will, ask us to ask you guys to hit the bell notification icon so you'll be notified, and then you just never get notified. Yeah, we're going to talk about that perfect image. Yeah, a lot of things were down yesterday because of like Cloudflare or something. I saw that. It's kind of awkward. All right. Well, everybody's saying the stream is good, so I'm sorry to hear that you're having some issues with it, Tarnished, but hopefully it'll fix itself. Here, boss, let's go this way for a second. Let me just give Luna her treats, and then we'll get a move on. Sorry to keep you guys waiting. Here you go, Luna. Go ahead. All right, we're going to start with Ghost of Yotei. Now, I think we were all expecting this update to come at some point for Ghost of Yotei, that being the new game plus. Luna, come on. I gave you treats. She's being really awkward about it. Sorry. I think what's a little bit surprising about this, though, is we didn't expect it maybe to drop so soon. The game has been out for over a month now, but I don't know. I would have suspected that this update would have maybe come out in December, possibly even January. But over on the PlayStation blog, they say New Game Plus comes to Ghost of Yotei November 24th. Free patch offers new cosmetics, new trophies, new photo mode features, replayable content, and more. They say on November 24th, a free patch for all Ghost of Yotei players will introduce New Game Plus, allowing you to replay Atsu's quest for vengeance from the beginning with everything you earned throughout the campaign. Yes, that means it's time to bring a gun to a sword fight with all the armors, abilities, and weapons from your first playthrough available from the start of the game. New Game Plus will unlock after you finish the main story and will add new, harder difficulty options and 2 new trophies. There's also a new currency called Ghost Flowers that you can exchange with a new vendor for more than 30 new cosmetics, including new armor sets and new weapon dyes, plus 10 new charms. You'll also be able to earn an additional tier of upgrades for your existing armor sets and weapons. Beyond New Game Plus, we also have a host of new features coming for the base game. Starting with this new patch, you'll be able to replay content in the post game after you've completed the main story, including a new stats display. We're also adding new accessibility options, including directional button mapping, and new photo mode features, including shutter speed, a composition grid, and new filters. We're happy to close out this year with these new features and are excited to see what everyone creates in photo mode. We're extraordinarily grateful for all the support you've shown Ghost of Yotei since our launch last month. Whether you visit Atsu's story in New Game Plus or jump in for the first time this holiday season, we hope you enjoy your time in Ezo, and we can't wait to introduce you to Ghost of Yotei Legends in 2026. Thank you for playing. So, yeah, this is quite a bit of free content that they're dropping for Ghost of Yotei. Really, you're just gonna leave? Okay, that's fine. Quite a bit of new content here. I'm still playing Ghost of Yotei. I was playing it yesterday, and I was still trophy hunting. And just to give you guys an update of where I am, I'm 50 out of 54 trophies. I think I'm at like the 55-hour mark. I only need those 4 trophies, but one of them I think might take a little bit of time. I have to watch a guide. I have to find all the painting spots. I'm pretty behind on that one. But outside of that, I think I'll be good. I don't think it's going to take me much longer. And so this is almost like perfect timing, I guess, for the update, because I'm probably going to want to get those last 2 trophies that they're going to add. And it seems to me that the 2 trophies are going to be one for completing it in New Game Plus mode, and the other, which may end up being very annoying, depending on just how difficult it's going to be, is they're saying they're adding new difficulty option. I'm assuming it's going to be really, really challenging. So maybe I won't be able to get those 2 trophies. MBG, I'm proud I got my first platinum on PlayStation 5 since I picked it up. Well, congratulations. No one, I don't think anybody goes into the PlayStation 5 without some kind of plan, potentially. That is if you care about trophy hunting at all, where it's like, what do you want your first platinum to be? So I'm assuming you were very intentional with which game you chose. Alvin, you're saying, for me personally, this sounds amazing. Definitely jumping into New Game Plus. Smurf for the win says, sounds like a good update. Corey says, I'm still referring to Ghost of Yotei as Yeti. Alma says, I'm addicted to Where the Winds Meet MBG. The game is freaking amazing for a free-to-play game, dude. Yeah, I was going to ask you guys how it is. I haven't looked into it too much, and I mean, it kind of caught me off guard. I'm like, oh, wait, yeah, that's out now, isn't it? I have no idea what the gameplay even is of that title. I saw that they were celebrating like 2 million players or something like that, which is impressive. You're saying it's really freaking good? What is the gameplay like? Is it like an action-oriented game? Smurf, you're saying Astrobot would be a tough first platinum. Those challenge levels are no joke. Oh, no, they're not. I did a members lounge earlier this year, members gameplay, and it was trying to complete, it was the DLC, of course, but the final challenge run. And man, it took me over 2 hours. It is no joke. But yeah, if you want to platinum that game, the final challenge level is really hard. It's like Yotei and Tsushima, but more MMO-ish. Interesting. I might have to check that out. I don't know when I'll get around to it, but that's a game I've been seeing pop up every now and again because I think it's only available on PS5 and PC. And it seems like it's like another one of these games where it's a big free-to-play title for PlayStation that will probably help their platform. So I might check it out at some point. The trophies are quite easy, mostly just beating bosses for half the trophies. You talking about Where the Winds Meet, Dwayne? Wait, you're saying it's $15 on PlayStation? I'm not so sure. I could have swore this was a free-to-play game. I think, isn't there a version that you can buy that costs $15 where you just get like some extra stuff? That's usually how it works for the free-to-play games. Yeah. So DSV, I don't think you're wrong. I think there is like a $15 version you can buy. But if you just want to like, hop into the game and try it out, it's free. It's free to play. That's interesting though. Ghost of Tsushima and Yotei gameplay, but more MMO-ish. Trying to imagine what that would be like. Sounds pretty cool, honestly. Oh, Dwayne, you're talking about going for another platinum, the MGS1 Master Collection. Oh, nice, dude. But yeah, I think I'll have to evaluate the 2 trophies that they drop with this update and determine if I want to just be okay with getting the platinum for Ghost of Yotei and move on from that and not really replay the game, not play it on the harder difficulty, assuming that is a trophy. But I don't know. I feel mixed, somewhat mixed on Ghost of Yotei. I've been talking to you guys about it where it's like some people think I'm being too harsh on it. My whole thing with Ghost of Yotei and Tsushima is like one of my favorite games ever, but I've always said that like Tsushima is not a perfect game, and I don't think Yotei is a perfect game either. And I think it's because, and this is just my opinion, I think there are people who disagree, but I think it would be beneficial for like if they make a Ghost 3. I don't know if they're going to make a Ghost 3. A lot of people want them to move on from that. I would be okay with that. I would like to get something new from Sucker Punch. If they want to do a Ghost 3, I'll still be happy for that too, though. Just curious to see where they would go with it. But my, like I said, my input, if I were to have any, for Ghost 3 would be, I think, reduce the overall number of random open world kind of things you need to collect and discover. Not dramatically, like don't drop it, don't like cut it in half, but maybe reduce it by maybe like 15%, maybe 20% at most. I say this only because I feel like, I don't know, when I think about something like Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 2 is another iterative game where it's very much the same in many regards to Spider-Man 1. And I feel like that's exactly what Ghost of Yotei is compared to Tsushima, where it's like it's very iterative. And I remember in Spider-Man 2, some people were complaining that they felt like the game was too short if you went for the platinum, right? Like if you want 100% Spider-Man 2, it's too short. I do think Spider-Man 2 also suffers, just like Spider-Man 1 did, where it's like when you're going for these platinums, it can get pretty repetitive. I feel like that's the nature of going for platinums in open world games. repetition is going to be there. But with Spider-Man 2, I noticed like it took me, I don't know, maybe like 30 hours, 28, 30 hours, something like that to get 100% and to get that platinum. And that's where I feel like something to me feels a little bit off about Yotei, where it's like I'm approaching the 60-hour mark and I still have 4 trophies because there's still more stuff out there that I got to do. And I'm like, I feel like, I feel like if we could bring that number down, and again, this is just my personal feeling on it, I would feel like better about that if we get that in Ghost 3, which like Ghost 3 is going to follow a similar formula, but we basically reduce the amount of things you have to collect and find to get the platinum by like 15%, 20%. Like, okay, perfect. I'd like, to me, that feels like the sweet spot. You want a bigger game. Interesting. Yeah, again, I'm not saying that this makes the game bad. It doesn't, because again, all the stuff I'm referring to is optional. Um, in fact, it sometimes it makes me wonder, like, what would Ghost of Yotei be like if it was just a linear game, or like with just like small open areas, but basically a linear game, open zone, I guess you could say. I really wonder what Yotei would be like. I feel like it would probably break the overall game design of it though, because the game is very much designed with exploration in mind. You disagree, Garrett? Open world platinum should be 100 hours. Spider-Man is too short. Interesting. Yeah, I mean that's fair too. I do think that when people get into that zone where it's like I'm diving into a big open world, is Boss serious right now? He's out there like fighting Luna. Boss. I hear him like hissing at her and like smacking the door or something. Chill, chill, dude. When you get into that zone where it's like, yeah, I want to platinum a game, an open world game specifically, I do feel that it like when people they're hunkering down. You know what I mean? It's like I'm ready to go all out. And yeah, RPGs are known to be very long, and there's like RPG mechanics in a lot of these games, skill trees and stuff like that. And so I feel like a lot of Sony studios who are doing these open world games, they're trying to blend a more cinematic, action oriented game with some light RPG mechanics. And I think sometimes the playtimes can be reflective of that in the case of Ghost of Yotei. And again, I don't think it's a problem. I just, maybe it's just me, because I won't lie to you. Even when I was platinuming Spider-Man 2, there were definitely some times where I'm like, okay, this is getting a little monotonous now. It's like, okay, I'm going to this spot in the map and I got to get this last, I forget what they were, but like there's like this last zone where there's like criminals breaking in or something. It's like, okay, I just got to beat the crap out of 20 more guys. Stuff like that. The rinse and repeat type stuff. I just start to think that, this is where my desire for more linear games starts to kick in. You think it has more uh the task they have you completing and not how long it takes, more tasks, but less mundane. Yeah, it could be that, like but at the same time, I feel like I appreciate what they're trying to do. For example, like when I was playing Ghost of Tsushima and I'm playing as Jin, and it's like you got to find these certain spots in the map where you're gonna sit down and you're gonna do your you know you're gonna do your what are they called, the haikus. And I'm like, that's very cool. I like that. Like it's woven perfectly into like, yeah, that seems like something a samurai in the 14th century would be doing. This whole idea of like blending spirituality and contemplation with intense battle and honor and all this stuff. Like, yeah, it makes perfect sense. Can it get a little bit monotonous where it's like, okay, I need to get like 15 of these things? Yeah, perhaps. And that's why I feel like maybe stuff like that just lower the number a little bit. But I do think game developers have a certain fear of, our games are taking 5, 6, sometimes 7 years to develop. The budgets are massive. There's a very high expectation. I think there is this certain fear where it's like we don't want a major complaint to be it's too short. We don't want it to feel like people aren't getting their money's worth. And I do feel like sometimes that can, even on a subconscious level, influence where it's like, let's get 15 of those. Or maybe they're looking at the overall map and they're like, in order to make this seem more consistent and more even, it makes sense to have like 15 scattered throughout. And I could see the logic there, but I feel like that's where it's like, well, you have to, in my opinion, like you have to keep in mind, well, the player who's going to try to go for all 15 of those, like how monotonous will that become? And I'm just, but that's the thing is like when I'm playing Ghost of Yotei, where it's like you have to get, like for example, there's a trophy where you have to learn, I think like 7 or 8 songs, and I'm like, that's perfect. That is the perfect amount. Where by the time I got to the end of the game, I only needed 2 more songs, and I only had to search. I only had to basically search for 2 points in the map, and it felt more natural. It felt like that was the perfect amount based on how I'm engaging with the game, just flowing through the story. To whereas like now, for example, one of the last trophies I have to get is the um to do all the paintings. And the paintings, I don't have a problem with them. Again, I think this is a unique and interesting game mechanic that blends perfectly well with it's like, yes, Atsu is an artist and she likes to do paintings. And that makes perfect sense to have a mechanic like this. And it also uses the DualSense very well. Something I'll give Sucker Punch a lot of credit for is they really do a good job in their games. Pretty much all PlayStation first party studios do, but they do a very good job like finding clever and interesting ways to implement the DualSense technology. And with those paintings that she does, I think they do a really good job with that. But at the same time, I'm looking at it, I'm like, dude, there's 18 of these things. I'm like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, I will bring up the video and find all the spots and I will do all 18, but I just have to ask, why are there 18? You know what I mean? Like, 10 feels much more appropriate, maybe even 12. 18, okay. Um, it's stuff like that where it's like, again, they're very I'm nitpicking right now, and the only reason I'm nitpicking is because I'm going for the platinum. Uh, if I was not going for the platinum and this was just about playing it as naturally as I wanted to, and then putting it down as soon as I'm done, I think I've done about 5 or 6 of those paintings. No problem. They were just ones that I naturally came across. So I do want that to be clear. I think sometimes people they may interpret this nitpicking as like these are major issues with this game that need to be fixed. Again, I will repeat this because it's worth repeating. I think Ghost of Yotei is an excellently made game. I think it's an expertly crafted game. I don't think it's a perfect game, but I do think that people who are playing it, even if it's not in your opinion, like the funnest game you ever played or the best game you ever played, I don't think anybody can deny that there's a certain level of expertise that you can just see it and experience it and feel it. It's there, it's on display. And to me, that's something that when I give my overall evaluation of Ghost of Yotei, while I am sitting here saying that some of these things can get a little bit tedious and monotonous, I mean, some of the side stuff when you're trying to get the platinum can be a bit mundane. Um, the overwhelming majority of the game has been very good. The story was very good, albeit predictable. The gameplay very fun. The different weapons, right? Like the overall versatility that Atsu has compared to say Jin in Tsushima. It all I think comes together very well, and I've talked extensively about how good this game looks, how this, I think Sucker Punch may be leading the way right now or close to leading the way in like, here's how you really take advantage of the PS5 Pro, right? And here's what can really be done on it. So I do think the overall package from Sucker Punch is impressive. The voice acting's good. The writing is good. Like I will say a couple of standout things here. There's like this one character. He's supposed to be a little bit of comic relief. Gojiro. Like, come on, Wes. I think that's being nonsensical right now. How you gonna call me a shill, bro? I think that's unfair. I think that's unfair because you're implying that I'll just say it's good because it's Sony, and I've definitely not done that. There have been maybe not a lot of times, but there have been times where Sony puts something out, and I'm like, I don't think this is good. I'm not digging this. I'm not so sure about this. So I think it's a little bit unfair, but you're entitled to your opinion. You're entitled to your opinion. Do I think there's going to be a Ghost 3? Uh, I'm not sure, man. I mean, they clearly have a formula, right? And the thing about Ghost of Yotei is it is selling pretty well. Like it's, Sony says it's a hit like Tsushima was. So I think Sony's going to leave it up to the studio, and I think it really just comes down to, Sucker Punch will probably take the holiday off. Obviously, it'll take time off. Then when they come back, part of what they'll start doing is one of their teams, the conceptual team or the directors and whatnot, they'll all have to get together and I think pitch some ideas to the studio of like, what do we want to do collectively as a studio? And I could see them wanting to absolutely do Ghost 3. But I do believe that if they choose to do Ghost 3, they're going to have to make some pretty significant changes because, and I think about this with like Spider-Man 3, right? Where it's like once, and also Horizon 3. I mean, you talk about the sequelitis, right? I feel like these games, as they reach their third entries, and maybe it's just because I don't know, we do hold Sony to a pretty high standard, generally speaking. I think they're going to need to make some more significant changes. Like I'm not saying they have to do something absolutely wild and like flip the game on its head, formula wise. I'm not saying they have to do that, but I do think at least with Ghost 3, one of the things that people have complained about with this title, with Yotei, and it's a complaint again we've seen with some of these sequels, is some people are like, it feels too much the same. And, some people get defensive and they're like, well, it's a sequel. What do you expect? And I feel like that's kind of the tough balance that they have to try to find, where it's like, well, a sequel has to be very similar to the first in some ways. But a sequel also has to bring something new to the table. And it's finding that middle ground. I think generally speaking, PlayStation studios have done a pretty good job of it. But I do, again, feel as though as we go into the third entries of these upcoming titles, potentially Ghost 3 included. I mean, Spider-Man 3 is a guarantee. We know that's happening. Horizon 3 is a guarantee. We know that's happening. Both of these games are guaranteed. Ghost 3, I don't think is a guarantee as of right now. And if they go in that direction, I would like to see some significant changes. I would like to see something that is a little bit unexpected, for better or for worse. I would just like to see, I don't know, like I don't know if this would. I mean, maybe this would break the game, but like, I mean, can we imagine like a more modern day Ghost game? I I'm not sure how that would look or how that would work, but that sounds like an interesting challenge potentially. And I feel like if you do something closer to modern day, it will not feel like Ghost of Yotei at all. It will not feel like Ghost of Tsushima at all. It'll feel very, very different. And that could be very cool, right? My fear, if you want to call it a fear, I don't know if I would say it's a fear, but I would be worried that if they do a Ghost 3 and it's like, okay, now it's going to take place in the 1700s, in the 17th century. It's like that. I mean, it could be great, but like I would kind of be worried, like, okay, well, how much is this going to feel just like Ghost of Yotei and Ghost of Tsushima? You know what I mean? So I think the time jump they did with Tsushima and Yotei makes sense. 300 years, I'm playing as Yotei walking around with a freaking rifle, dropping people. So it's like, okay, yeah, that definitely you can feel in certain areas of this game like there is that time difference. But there's still so many things where it's like not that much has changed in those 300 years. Like not as much as you would think, right? Whereas if I feel like if you jump to like the 18th or 19th century, things might look very different. What would be really cool for a Ghost 3 game? This would be really cool. I think a cool Ghost 3 game would be, and I don't know, what was it? I think it was like the late 1800s. You'll have to, I might be completely off on this. I don't know, Japanese history that well, but I know it's during that, somewhere in that time frame, it was like the end of the samurai, and how there was like the story I heard of like this last group. Now I know there's that movie with Tom Cruise called The Last Samurai. I did not watch that movie. I don't know. I don't know. Okay, I did not watch that movie. But just this idea of like it's the end days of the samurai, and maybe like the opposite approach of Jin, right? Where you're playing a character that's like where you need to fight for the samurai way. And it would be cool if at the end you didn't have a choice. You lose, right? You actually lose at the end. Um, but it's kind of like the opposite, almost like a full circle moment for the Ghost series, where it's like, to whereas Jin had to make the tough choice ultimately to move away from the samurai. This is like basically you're playing as a kind of Lord Shimura type character, where it's like, no, dude, samurai till the end, and we will fight anybody. And even if that's a losing battle, I think that'd be kind of cool. That would be a very different feeling from Tsushima. It would run the risk of feeling too similar in some ways, so they would definitely have to have certain twists, and I'll leave the details to them. Michael, what's going on, man? A medieval Ghost game? I mean, the whole thing about the Ghost series, if they want to continue it, is that it seems like the number one rule is it has to be in Japan, right? Members launch today? Yes, we are doing a members launch today. We're going to be doing another reaction-based one to an interesting GTA Vice City video I came across. And I figured it's fitting because we are exactly 1 year away from GTA 6 launching. So if you're a channel member, please look forward to that. If you're not, consider becoming one. Guys, like I said, make sure you continue to hit that like button. We're sitting at 59 likes. Let's see if we can bump that up to 75. I'd really appreciate that. We're sitting at 25 members, which is awesome to see. We'll see if we can continue to grow that number as we continue on here. And, we are still aiming for that 10 super chat goal, so we'll see if we can do that too. We'll see how it goes. And Michael Werneth comes in. He says, MBG, I'm here. Have no fear. I'm dropping more support. 10 more membership gifts. Thank you, Michael. I'm just trying to see. Hold on. My mouse is being weird here. Yeah, Michael comes in and he's dropping 10 on you guys. All right? So he's moving the needle. He's taking us from 25 to 35. And just like that, we are much closer to potentially hitting a second goal today. So, Michael, I'll give you your... Michael, what's your favorite soundbite, by the way? Do you have a favorite soundbite? I don't know if I've asked that before. Yeah, W's in the chat for Michael. And he drops a super chat. He wants to be the first one dropping the super chat, too. He says, is this super chat number 1? Do we care what the value is? If you're asking the value of the super chat, I keep it at like $5 super chats. I don't know if it can go lower than that. It might be able to. I might be able to include $2 super chats. I'll have to double check that. But when I set up the goal, it just automatically keeps it at 5. And I'm like, all right, well. So we're striving for 10. We'll see if we can hit it. I don't know. YouTube has the super chat goal automatically integrated and built in. And so I just figure, I haven't been using it. I may as well. It doesn't hurt. The problem is, like, I can't really offer anything other than, like, thank you. If you drop a super chat, you're supporting. And so if we hit that goal, it's just a kind of like, I guess, visual representation of, there we go. The goal's been met. You've helped the channel. The Screaming Gopher, here you go, Michael. I'll give you 2. That's how much I like you, Michael. And you're saying, here's He says, here's a $2 super chat. I don't think there is a $2. No, I'm not sure. I'll have to double check the next time I set the goal. But I appreciate it, Michael. Thank you for all your support, man. You're very generous, like many people here, very kind to the community, and I appreciate it, man. I do. MBG, do you remember the Sega Genesis game Michael Jackson Moonwalker? They shout Michael. I I've heard of the game, and I know Mark Cerny, I think, worked on that game. I don't know if he worked on it, but I remember seeing an image where he was talking to Michael Jackson. He was like showing like, I'm serious. There's an image out there of Mark Cerny like standing next to Michael Jackson, and it looks like I guess they were in the studio, and he's like showing Michael Jackson the game. So I feel like Mark Cerny actually worked on that game, dude. Now I gotta check. Let's see. Yes, Mark Cerny was involved with a Michael Jackson video game project that was ultimately canceled. Oh, I didn't know that. It was canceled. He and colleagues first collaborated on a project based on Thriller, which was then canceled, leading them to work on what eventually became the game Marble Madness. Yo, and I see the image of a young Mark Cerny. A young Mark Cerny. He looks so different, dude. You wouldn't even be able to tell that's him. Hold on, I got to show you guys this image. I hope it lets me bring it up. So we got a young Mark Cerny here with Michael Jackson. Let's see if it's going to let me. Here we go. Why the image is so small, though. Check this out. So I told you it was real. This is not AI, by the way. This is a real image. That's Mark Cerny to the left there. Young Mark Cerny and Michael Jackson. I mean, there's a reason why they say Mark Cerny is an actual legend, dude. You can 100%. Yeah, I mean, just at a quick glance, I'm like, wait, which one's? I'm like, that Asian man sitting there definitely can't be Mark Cerny, right? But yeah, Mark Cerny's been all over the industry. I mean, he really is. There are living legends still in the video game industry. He's one of those living legends. Pretty cool, man. I mean, how many devs can say that they were, you know, they got to show Michael Jackson a work in progress build of a video game based on Thriller. I wonder why it got canceled though. Maybe we'll have to do a members lounge one day exploring that, finding out what happened, what went wrong. That's so cool though. His face looks exactly the same. It's the hair that threw me off a little bit. I'm used to his hair being like kind of like long and straight. Garrett says Cerny is truly the GOAT. I know MJ sponsored a lot of video games, but was he an actual gamer? I'm not sure. I think he may have been. I don't know though. Why was that kid wearing shades inside? Because he was just that cool, man. Tarnish says, do you feel the blues of winter or not? Sometimes. I don't feel particularly different, but the first thing I notice is like when it gets dark at like 4:00, that's a little bit depressing. But at the same time, I actually kind of welcome winter because summer, I start to get really annoyed. I'm like, okay, this has gone on long enough. Like most people, my favorite seasons are fall and spring because I feel like, they're short lived, but it's perfect weather. Fall in particular. I don't know, it's kind of tied between spring and fall. But I like winter. I can appreciate certain aspects of winter. It's nice when it's really cold outside. Sometimes you're just chilling indoors, got the heat turned on, real or fake fireplace, whatever you prefer, Make some tea, perhaps, hot chocolate. I like hot chocolate, but I have to stay. Hot chocolate's one of those things I have to stay away from because I start to get addicted to it. I'm like, I got to have my hot chocolate every day. It's like, no, dude. Not good for you. Not good for you, though. Yeah, I I always reach a point where I begin to hate summer and then I begin to hate winter. I think everybody gets like that, right? Where it's like you kind of welcome summer at first and then it gets too hot and you're like, "Okay, I'm over this now. We can stop." And then same thing with winter where it's like, "Oh, finally," you know? But then it's like, "Okay, now it's freezing and this can stop too." Carlos, you're saying my shopping mall where I work sells hot chocolate for $10 from a place called I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, dude. I feel like you set me up, Carlos. Here, boss. Anyway, what we're back to Ghost of Yotei. getting a little bit off topic here. Um, Ghost of Yotei. What game do I like so much that I've gone back to it several times? There are not many games that I will go back to, generally speaking. There's certainly not many games that I'll go back to several times. The one game, though, that I've went back to, we're not talking about multiplayer games. We're not talking about live service games. We're talking about single player games, I assume. The one game that I've went back to probably more than any other game in my entire time playing games, it might be Dark Souls 1, surprisingly. Maybe, I don't know if that's surprising. I say surprisingly, like I feel like that would surprise some of you, but Dark Souls 1 is a goat game for me, dude. Like I don't like to do the thing where it's like my number one game because there's a couple games that I feel like are tied for that spot, but Dark Souls is definitely tied for number one. Um there's just something about that game, dude. There maybe it was a time and place thing when I played it, but Dark Souls is a game that introduced me to a type of game and a game world that I'd never experienced up to that point where I'm like, I don't know. I didn't know this existed. Like I didn't know this was possible. And I'm like, this is my first time being in a world like this and playing a game like this. And it just hit, man. It just hit. And it really is one of those games where it's like and I don't know how many of these games exist. I think like Resident Evil 4 might be another one that's close up there where there's very few older games for me that I could go back to and you could just give me the original version, no remaster, no remake, no updates and just give me the raw original game and it still hits the exact same way and it still feels just as good as it did. I feel like Dark Souls is one of those games alongside Resident Evil 4. That's a good question. Ghost of Tsushima is the first game you've beaten twice, Garrett. Interesting. Really? So I'm assuming, Garrett, that would mean for most of your gaming career, if we want to call it that, you would just beat a game and then move on, and you won't even look back. That's interesting. If I'm reading what you're saying correctly. Jason, you're saying your number one game you can easily go back to every time is Elden Ring, the best Souls game. Yeah. And that's the thing. Elden Ring to me, I mean, it basically is like the ultimate Dark Souls. But it's strange though, because I don't feel the same way about Elden Ring that a lot of people do. I love Elden Ring. I platinumed it. It's one of my most played games on PS5. I have like 135 hours in it or something. But I don't know what it is. Like for me, one of the things about Dark Souls that makes it so special is it's not an open world game, but it's an open game, if that makes sense. To whereas Elden Ring is purely open world, right? It's designed completely with an open world philosophy, and it's executed flawlessly, pretty much. Better than like 99.99% of open world games these days. But the thing about, yeah, it's like an open linear game. But the thing about Dark Souls is it doesn't feel linear because it's like you can just go in all these different directions and you don't know where it's going to take you, but it's not big enough to feel like an open world per se. It's like an interconnected world. I think that's a better way to describe it. An interconnected world where, and I remember that threw me for the biggest loop, dude. And when I say I don't think I've ever experienced a game like that before, when it was like I was at the Firelink Shrine and I'm like, I'll just go to the left here. And I encountered the skeleton enemies. And I'm like, okay, they don't seem that hard, but then they don't die. And then I encounter a bigger skeleton enemy that just kills me in one hit. I'm like, what's going on right now? And I'm just like, okay, I guess I'm not supposed to go that way. Then I go underneath, I go underground, and then I'm fighting ghosts, and I can't even hit them because I don't have the right weapon or whatever. Call it a linear world. Linear world. That's interesting. And I remember like when I was experiencing Dark Souls, I was just so fascinated by that because I was like, whoa, like what else is out there? And I don't know. I was just so captured by the look of the game too. The look of like Elden Ring is known for being such a I feel a certain way about From Software. I feel as though Elden Ring is the culmination of everything that, in a sense, everything that the Dark Souls games were trying to be. And maybe, Bloodborne and Demon Souls, it's like everything fully realized in one sprawling universe. Um, the thing about Dark Souls for me though is that it's like if you were to ask me what game do you think is better, Elden Ring or Dark Souls 1? To me, I will always say Dark Souls 1. And I know that that's like blasphemous for some people and unthinkable, but the reason why I feel that is very specific to again, the place and time where it's like it's what the game means to me and it's I guess there is a layer of nostalgia there too where it's like dude when I go to the Firelink Shrine and when I go to Undead Burg I'm like I'm home. you know like this is it for me. Now granted it's been a little while since I played it. To be honest, I'm kind of hoping like Dark Souls 1 gets a remake kind of like Demon Souls. That's kind of what I've been waiting for. There's Dark Souls Remastered. It's always there if I want to play it, but I've been kind of hoping like Dark Souls 1 gets a proper remake. Um, but yeah, man, I love Dark Souls 1 and I didn't mean to make Dark Souls a topic, but it's just an interesting question. I don't get asked that question that often like what's the one game that like I went back and played the most? Probably it may be tied between Dark Souls 1 and Resident Evil 4. I feel very strongly about Resident Evil 4 as well. But your first Souls game was the original Demon Souls on PS3. However, Elden Ring, in my opinion, is the best FromSoft game. Yeah, I have this like kind of there's like one very small aspect of Elden Ring that kind of upsets me a little bit. It doesn't. It doesn't. It's like when people got on board with Elden Ring and they're like, "Oh my god, what is this? What is this game?" You know, this open world, this universe. What is this? Who are these characters? What is this gameplay? I always felt like I guess what I'm trying to say is I always felt like the success that Elden Ring found is the success that Dark Souls 1 was supposed to find, you know? And it makes sense why it didn't, cuz Dark Souls 1 is not perfect. Certainly not. Especially like the very end of the game. Like there's this whole thing where it's like a little bit rushed and they had to cut some stuff and whatever. But but yeah, I always kind of felt that where I'm like it's like people who are just getting on with Elden Ring, I'm like I'm glad you get it now. But I was there since, and I can't even imagine how Demon Souls players feel, dude. I wasn't there for Demon Souls. Demon Souls players, they're like, bro, I was here from the start with this formula, with Miyazaki, bro. Tarnish is saying, no, it's okay, MBG. DS1 does something better than Elden Ring. It's the more condensed, curated experience to where it knows its boundaries and perfects them. Also open-ended and non-linear. Yeah, you know, like I always remember thinking like who is it, Oscar of Astora. Like I don't know, man. Dark Souls is so incredible. Even just at the beginning of that game, where it like doesn't tell you anything, but you kind of know. You're like, okay, I'm a prisoner somewhere. I'm locked away, and you just see this knight. and he opens the hatch and he drops a key in, you know? But then you meet him as you're trying to make your escape and he's like dying. And he tells you like he just gives you this vague lore about him and his journey and what he's doing and you're like, "Whoa. Like, bro, can I have your armor?" It's so good. So good, man. Do I still play my older consoles, for example, PS3 or PS4? No, that's something I don't do. I have like a PS1 downstairs in the basement. I know Mrs. MBG, she still has a PS2. And I've thought about it, but I'm like, I don't want to because I'm afraid, to be honest. Like, I'm afraid. I prefer my rose tinted glasses, is what I'm trying to say. Like, I have memories with those consoles that in my mind feel amazing. And I'm fairly certain that if I try to emulate that, or not emulate, it wouldn't be emulated, but try to actually re experience it for what it actually was in that exact moment for like older games, like much older games, I feel like I don't want to ruin my good memories. You know what I mean? Yeah, bro, I got that moldy PS1 down there. I do got to I should put that PS1 somewhere better though. It's not a bad spot. It's on a desk that I have down there. But yeah, bro, I think the mold got to it. That's awesome, Mr. B. You're saying you'll use the PS2 for Guitar Hero sometimes? That's very cool. I remember playing Guitar Hero on the PS2, Guitar Hero 2, and I remember how hyped I was for Guitar Hero 3. That's another game that I spent a lot of time with, man. And the Rock Band games, for that matter. Big facts. A nostalgia trip can be a wake-up call. Don't wake me up. You should do that and prove why modern games are so much better. Yeah, let me ruin my nostalgic memories in the name of making a point. I mean, yeah, it's one of those things where there are some people who can go back and play these older games and it doesn't ruin their feelings on it. Like they still feel the same way and I'm like, that's cool. I just don't think I'm one of those people. Maybe for like certain games, like if you go back and play like Metal Gear Solid 1, if you were there from the beginning with MGS1 and then you go back to it, like you probably I don't think it would, you wouldn't feel too soured on it. But it's insane to me to like the idea of like not insane. Insane's the wrong word, but it's intense. It's like I just played Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain. I'm going to go play MGS1 now. It's like that's like whiplash, man. That's truly like whiplash. I'm like that's crazy. But I guess it just comes down to your perception of these games. That's why I believe in remakes and remasters. It takes the past and keeps it relevant. Oh yeah, I'm a big believer in them too. Absolutely. And I think both of these things can just exist in perpetuity, where like I think about Demon Souls. And I think about how like there's certain aspects of Demon Souls that some really core fans of FromSoft and Demon Souls believe that they changed a little too much with the art style. And it takes away some of the personality, I guess, of the game or some of the feel of the game visually and artistically. It's like, yeah, I get that, but the good news is like Demon Souls PS3 didn't go anywhere. You know what I mean? Like that's still there. 100%. I think about, I was just talking about Dark Souls 1. I think like if Dark Souls 1 got the Demon Souls treatment, I would be a little bit nervous. Like I feel so strongly about Dark Souls that I wouldn't want to see something changed that would end up making me be like, oh, the vibe is off, it's a little bit off. Whether that be like a character design or a boss battle or just an environment or something. And so I could totally understand people who are nervous about stuff like that. But at the same time, I'm like, I always know though that Dark Souls 1 will be there and I can always play it in its original form. At least you'd hope it'd always be there, right? Demon Souls Remake is a special game to you, Mr. B. Same here. Yeah, that was the first game I played on PS5. We just talked about the PS5 turning 5 years old, which is crazy. Can't believe it's already been half a decade, dude. That's crazy. But that was the first game that I booted up on my PS5. I streamed it the launch day of the PS5. We had over like 3,000 people watching. It was awesome. But I remember just being blown away. I'm like, I can't believe how good this looks, you know? And at 60 frames per second. So, Demon Souls, even though it's a remake, it represents my first experience going into next gen for this gen. And it didn't let me down, man. Let me tell you. It didn't let me down. I was like, wow. PS4 sucks. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't feel like that, but I'm like, yeah, this feels like a net like my overall experience with the first time I played PlayStation 5 and played Demon Souls, I was like, this does feel next gen. For real. Like I'm very delighted with this. It's living up, you know? That's interesting. You're saying you played Bloodborne, but Demon Souls is what really made you love the Souls games. Awesome. Yeah, Demon Souls Demon Souls is such a funny game in some sense because there's certain mechanics in that game that you can tell like Miyazaki was still experimenting with and trying to figure out, and they're just so brutal. Like what's the one mechanic in Demon Souls where it's like every time you die, you like your health bar just like diminishes more or something like that? Or you get no world tendency. Oh my god, the world tendency in Demon Souls is so funny. Where it's like, oh, you're struggling with the game, you're having a hard time. Well, let's just make it even harder for you, okay? I mean, it's like, god damn, really wants to beat you to the ground. But some people love that. Yeah, I was impressed with that too, Alma. When I first booted up the PlayStation, I remember not too like almost immediately after playing Demon Souls, I wanted to try out Miles Morales on PS5, and I was like, dude, these load times are actually nuts. Like I've never experienced an SSD on a console before, and I remember like you click the game application and then it's just like boom, you're at the main menu, and then you click start and boom, you're there, and I'm like, that's wow. I was coming off of using the PS4 Pro and sitting there for like 30 seconds at a time sometimes waiting for things to load. So that also felt like a game changer, in a sense of like and now I'm used to it. Now I don't think about it that much because it's been 5 years. Now I'm used to my games loading instantly, and it's gotten to a point where if a game takes more than 5 seconds to load, I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, what's going on here, man? So yeah, it was a good time. The launch of the PS5 was awesome. I haven't talked too much about the PS5 being 5 years old and everything that. Maybe I'll do a more proper overview or review, I should say, of the PS5 5 years into it. I wanted to try to do it like the day of, but I wasn't really thinking about it at the time. I got to be in the right frame of mind where it's like I really have to think about everything that happened over the last 5 years with the PS5, good, bad, ugly, everything in between, and kind of just do a more proper review of like, so how, where do we stand with this? But you had an SSD inside of your PS4 Pro and it helped with loading times and texture loading. That's interesting, Prince. I didn't know that. I didn't know you could put an SSD inside your PS4 Pro. Oh yeah, dude. I think with the DualSense at the launch of the PS5 for like a little while there, the built-in microphones, they were cursed. I think they were just like the worst way to communicate, and they've updated them numerous times since then. I think it's much more improved. The biggest thing is I think it has noise cancellation in it now. But yeah, I remember that was kind of a problem. Uh, okay. All right. Capcom lore, you put one in your PS4 as well? Maybe I did know about that. I wasn't paying attention to it. Yeah. I didn't at least for now where I am right now. I don't recall people telling me like, "Yeah, I put an SSD in my PS4." I didn't know you could do that. But the biggest thing I remember about the PS4 Pro was how damn loud it was, man. Like it was absurd. It's literally one of the reasons I was so excited for the PS5 because I'm like, this thing's gonna be silent. And the PS4 Pro was great, dude. It sounded louder than an air conditioner in your room, dude. It was that loud. And again, I'm been playing on the PS5 for 5 years in silence, and so it's easy to forget where I came from. MVG, you know it's funny, man. People criticize Sony for not making weird games, but then when the last state of play is weird, they ask where are the AAA bangers. Yeah, I think it's a case of the realization. It's the realization that they're not going to be able to please everybody, and I think Sony has done a pretty good job over the last 5 years, especially trying to appeal to the more AAA type gamer that looks for those big, exciting bangers. They did that with the PS4 as well. The PS4 though, they were mixing up things, like they were showing AAA bangers with some weird stuff next to it from them, and from their Japan studio. And this helps me kind of segue a little bit into uh, a topic that I wanted to continue talking about because I don't feel as though I covered it well enough yesterday, which is Sony taking Japan much more seriously and getting ready to take Nintendo on. Because there is an angle to this that I didn't really discuss deeply enough. And that is like, so what is Sony going to do differently? I was so once again focused on Sony's overall business structure for PlayStation, which that is part of it, but focused more on the, like where everybody stands and where we're headed, and not focused enough on what this means for Sony in terms of how they're planning to make what I mean, you would assume make waves to a degree, try to make waves in the Japanese market again, and what that means for things like Team Asobi, knowing that Team Asobi and Polyphony Digital are the only Japanese studios. Does this mean Sony's going to try to secure more exclusives, Japanese exclusives? Does it mean they're going to potentially try to acquire Japanese studios or build more Japanese studios? I think Sony may actually be more willing to build another Japanese studio than we think because that's what they did with Team Asobi. Team Asobi was basically the remnants of Japan Studio, and Japan Studio was, I think, massive, but it was very disorganized and all over the place. And Sony wanted to, I think, kind of consolidate that into just one smaller studio, which ended up being Team Asobi. But then Team Asobi comes out swinging, and Sony is like, oh my God, this is like one of our best studios ever. And now that you have Hideaki Nishino as the president of Sony Interactive Entertainment, he's straight up coming out here and telling us that, oh yeah, we are taking the Japanese market seriously now. We are going to try to catch up to Nintendo now and win back some market share from Nintendo now. And while we're learning that, we're also hearing, well, we already knew, but we're getting the confirmation that the previous leadership, aka Jim Ryan, did not care about the Japanese market, which again, I think all of this is obvious. This is not shocking information. It's not like some kind of revelation, but it's just interesting to get that confirmation in front of us where it's like, this is what you thought and you thought right. And Nishino seems very serious and adamant about being more Japanese focused now. And I feel as though a lot of PlayStation fans are happy about this and have been wanting this. And it's kind of like what you said, Gaming Survivor. People were underwhelmed by that state of play. I think I know why people were underwhelmed with that state of play. I think it's because it did feature a lot of the weird games, but I think the big problem with that state of play is like, it's not the fact that it's Japanese focused. Because I'll tell you, people going into that state of play were not upset that it was Japanese focused. It's that people were expecting some bigger Japanese games, and I think that's what it was lacking. And I'm not sure, well, my evaluation of it, like my read on it, is I think that Japanese state of play was I I don't say a last minute thing, but something that was not planned well in advance. I think it was something that they kind of were like, you know what, let's do this. And they put it together pretty quickly. And I think because of that, it's just like, well, you're also doing it in such close proximity to the Game Awards that the chances of you getting a big Japanese publisher, not publisher, but game or multiple big games to show up here, unless you're willing to pay a lot of money, probably not going to happen because they're already locked in with the Game Awards. And again, you're kind of doing this in November, which is out of nowhere, out of the blue. I think Sony was just pretty much okay with, all right, it's a start, and we're not trying to, like, this state of play isn't meant to be the thing that makes the waves. The price cut for the Japanese only model is what's meant to make the waves. But I wouldn't be surprised if in the future you do see more state of plays that are Japanese focused, but you do get some of those bigger games. Those bigger Japanese games do show up. I wouldn't be surprised if, like, for example, whenever Team Asobi is ready to announce another Astrobot project, if they're like, we are going to do a Japanese focused state of play once again, and that's going to be like the closer or like the big announcement. I could see them doing something like that. And so you also have to ask yourself what this means for the next generation. And you also have to ask yourself why suddenly Sony seems to be concerned with Nintendo in Japan. Well, I don't know if you guys have been paying attention, but there are reports and rumors starting to circulate that, I mean, I'm reading headlines like 2026 is going to be the year for Switch third party. We're seeing reports and we're hearing rumors from individuals like Nate the Hate that apparently Rockstar is internally testing Switch 2 versions of GTA 6, trying to see, they're dabbling with it. And it's becoming clear that, well, let me walk that back. I don't want to say anything's becoming clear, but it's beginning to look like maybe what I said earlier on about the Switch 2, it may turn out to be true, but it might take a little bit longer than I suspected. I thought the Switch 2 was going to come swinging out of the gate with, like, we're getting every third party, and Sony, we're coming for you, brother. Like, we're coming for that third party 30%. I thought that's what the Switch 2 was going to be. It wasn't that. It was more like, hey, we're coming out swinging with the hardware, with Mario Kart, and a couple of third parties. And I don't think anything we've seen up till this point with the Switch 2, third party wise, is enough to make Sony go, holy shit, we got to worry. I don't think so. I think it's turning into more of a slow burn where we look at what the Switch 2 is doing without that massive third party support. And the Switch 2 is breaking records. The Switch 2 is completely eating Sony's lunch in Japan, right? And dinner, seemingly. Now we're starting to hear, oh, yeah, no, this thing's going to be getting a lot more third party support going forward. And you start to hear even GTA 6 might make its way. I'll tell you right now, if there's something that would set an alarm bell off for Sony, I do believe this. When I say alarm bell, I don't want to say like they would literally go crazy and it's like panic, break glass in case of emergency. Not like that to that level. Like the ship is sinking. Not like that. But like, sir, we just found out that GTA 6 is going to be launching on the Switch 2. I do think that's something that would make Sony go, huh? And then couple that with, oh yeah, by the way, Modern Warfare 4 is also launching on the Switch 2. You're going to get Sony being like, okay, all right. All right, we see what's going on here. I mean, Sony, I'm being a bit, hyperbolic with it, but I do think that, yeah, and there's that too, Alvin. I do think that it begins to make more sense as to why Sony is taking a closer look at Nintendo and taking a closer look at the Japanese market and also seemingly doubling down on the handheld market where they're like, okay, we have a PlayStation Portal that's been very successful, but you know what? Let's just make a full-blown handheld. And if the rumors and the reports are true that this new handheld is actually going to be a full-blown PlayStation 6 handheld, like sits right alongside the PlayStation 6 home console, that's pretty huge. And that, as I've said before, if it does turn out that way, is a clear-cut indication that Sony is saying we are going after the Switch 2 with this device, especially if it's dockable, which the reports claim it is dockable. When will you ever learn that Nintendo is a first-party machine? No matter if GTA 6 is ever released on it, it'll always be the worst version. Got to stop trying to make these battles. Well, to be clear, I don't think it'll be like a normal console war. And I guess it kind of sounds like I'm framing it that way, but at least I don't think it will be. I think it's going to be more of like a Cold War type thing, like a cold console war. Or I don't know, maybe that's what it'll be between the PS5 and the PS6 and these PC hybrid devices. But I think that Sony, I don't want to say that they're worried, right? Because I don't know. But I think Sony would be in a potentially compromising position, in a position of arrogance and getting too comfortable if they had that mentality. Because you might be right at the end of the day where it's like, yeah, GTA 6 could launch the same day on Switch 2 as PS5. The lion's share of the sales are going to be PS5. And maybe that will be true if that were to happen. But I think it's just and same thing with Call of Duty. But I just think it's a matter of like Sony should prepare for that just in case. Because the worst case scenario is that doesn't happen. Like the worst case scenario, or best case, I mean, the best case scenario is, yeah, GTA 6 literally can't run on the Switch 2. So you don't have to worry about it. That's the best case scenario. And so Sony is just like, okay, well, we still have our own handheld anyway, right? Call of Duty. Best case scenario. Call of Duty releases on Switch. It's really not great. It's struggling. And you also are talking about Nintendo's online infrastructure. It's not great. End result, you didn't really lose anybody on PlayStation. They're still buying Call of Duty on PlayStation. Again, I think it's the things that Sony is seemingly preparing to do, I don't think could hurt. Unless, they go all in. Like if Sony's like, we are making PlayStation copy Nintendo note for note because we want to be Nintendo. If they do that, I think that would be a critical mistake. But I don't think they're doing that. I think Sony, their approach is more like, okay, we have our own stuff that we've established and we're doing very well. Where else can we improve? Where else, where are some potential weak spots that could be exploited? And what can we do about it? And I think this is an area where it's like, well, you've pretty much completely given up the Japanese market, and you've also completely conceded in the handheld space. Boss, what do you want from me, bro? I don't mind if you want to chill here, but you gotta give me some space. We've conceded in the handheld space entirely, outside of what we just did recently with the PlayStation Portal. So I think it's like, okay, let's try to cover those bases now too. And I don't think that means that the PlayStation handheld's gonna suddenly, catch the Switch 2 or something and start outselling it, or even compete at a higher level with it, because it's true what you're saying, right? Like Nintendo's machine is first party driven. Nintendo is mostly known at this point. I mean, overwhelmingly known for, yeah, you buy the Nintendo hardware for the Nintendo games. But again, I do think that we're seeing more and more third party support for the Switch 2. And what Sony really has to fear more than anything, I think, if you want to talk about like what should they actually truly be worried about, it's the Switch 2 sales numbers. If there's anything that I think is beginning to make Sony a little bit nervous, it's that. And the reason I say this is because Sony has gotten to where they are in gaming by being like the de facto third party platform in the console space, right? They've went to war with Microsoft, or Microsoft went to war with them. And they've been at war with Nintendo in the past over stuff like this. But after all these years, it's worked out that Sony's like, we did it. Like we are the go-to place for third party in the console space. And PC is obviously its own thing. That's where Valve dominates. And these two things can coexist now. I think Nintendo possibly poses a threat in the sense that, sir, the Switch 2 may be on track to sell more than the Switch 1, which would actually mean it's going to outsell the Switch or the PlayStation 2, possibly, if it doesn't slow down. It's breaking records. And it's looking like third-party support is going to ramp up significantly. I think Sony's thinking along the lines of what this means for developers, where it's like, well, hold on. Like developers have always kind of viewed PlayStation as the platform to develop for in the console space. I think one of the biggest fears that Sony has is you don't want to see that change over to now it's Nintendo. You know what I mean? Like we're building our games for the Nintendo Switch 2 first, and then we'll move them over to the PlayStation. Sony's not in that position now. Not even, and Nintendo's not even close to being in that position yet. That's important to understand. I'm not saying what I just described is what the situation is now. It's not. But what I am saying is that could over time become the situation based on just how well the Switch 2 sells. Because imagine this. Imagine the Switch 2 does surpass the PS2 by a wide margin. I'm not saying that's going to happen anytime soon. That would take many years. It would take probably longer than an entire generation. But imagine that. Just imagine the Switch 2 lands at 175 million units sold and is the number one. Number one. Knowing that the PS5 maybe will tap out at 100 million, maybe 120 million. I don't think it's going to go beyond 120. I think that'd be very difficult. And knowing that the PlayStation 6 handheld is not a Switch 2. It's going to be its own thing, and it's going to be, getting a bit of a late start. That's when I think Sony would actually start to panic, because at that point, developers are going to have this incredible incentive where if you look at the Switch 1 and the PlayStation 4, developers didn't have that much incentive without running into major roadblocks, right? The incentive for the Switch 1 is, oh my God, this hardware is everywhere. That's a massive install base, 100 million, 130 million, 150 million. Massive. Let's get our game on there. Oh, you know what? We can't. We literally can't get our game on here. We literally can't. Technically, we just can't make it happen. Sony was able to kind of be like, okay, well, we don't have to worry about it then. We don't have to worry about it. The Switch is not a threat from that perspective because devs can't put their games on the Switch. They can't run. They can run just fine on the PS4, though. I think that's the potential changeover that I'm referring to here. I think it's that if Nintendo reaches that height sales-wise, which they might, and if it goes even further this time, Sony's not going to be able to sit back and say, well, the devs aren't even going to put their games on there. Like, no, dude, they can. Like, now they can. And I think that's the wake-up call for Sony, that they're like, okay, you know what, though? I think we need to take Nintendo a little bit more seriously. Just in case. We need to prepare and cover our bases, so if that ever does happen, we're not completely caught off guard. That's my read on it. And we have Garrett Green, a member for 25 months. Thank you for the support, Garrett. You're saying the only one who will be worried will be Nintendo when the PlayStation handheld releases and plays more games and plays them better. Yes, and that is, well, that's what I'm saying, right? That is the base being covered. Because as of right now, that does seem like that's where it's headed. Because even though the Switch 2 has the potential, it's stronger than the Switch 1. It has DLSS. Devs are going to get more and more comfortable with it and find ways to get their games working. The PlayStation 6 handheld is going to be even easier. The PlayStation 6 handheld is going to represent what will essentially be a portable PlayStation 5. And so it's like, hey, as long as you can get your game working on the PS5, there will be a separate development SKU for the handheld, but it's effectively the same. It might take just a little bit of extra tweaking, but for all intents and purposes, it's basically a portable PS5. The Switch 2 is not a portable PS5. It is not. It seems to be somewhere between a portable PS4 Pro and a portable Series S. And so I do think that, yeah, Sony being that intentional with this upcoming handheld, I think that is part of the intention, right? It is, we want to make it a situation where it should be easier for devs to get their game up and running on the PlayStation handheld than it is the Switch 2. And if Sony, I mean, I say if, but based off of everything we know, that is what's going to happen. That's genius on Sony's part. It's genius in the sense that you could not be more prepared than that. I'm not saying the handheld is genius. I'm not saying you wanting to sell a handheld. And it's not the handheld itself that's genius from a competitive, and this is why I say I don't think Sony's complacent anymore, man. I don't think Sony will. I'm not going to say they'll never get complacent again, but I just think that they're not PS3 era Sony anymore, dude, or PS2 era. Like, they're preparing for that exact outcome of, oh, okay, well, hey, Nintendo isn't a threat. They haven't been a threat in a long time. Doesn't mean they'll never be. So let's just prepare as best we can. How do we do that? Here's our own handheld that's more powerful, more capable than the Switch 2, and you will have an easier time porting your game to this than you will the Switch 2. The only question is, how will it sell? And Capcom lawyer with a super chat says Switch has the record for the biggest library for consoles. You act like devs don't make games for Nintendo or Switch. LOL, it's just people don't buy them there. I didn't know that. Is that true? Capcom lawyer, I feel like you're always dropping the stuff that I'm... Which console has the biggest video game library? Well, it says that, okay, so not counting the PlayStation 2, says the Nintendo Switch technically has the most available games on a modern current gen console due to its vast digital library. It says the Switch has a very large and ever-growing library of over 4,400 games. Well, okay, that's crazy to me. Well, so hold on. This means one of two things. This means I'm missing something, like I'm blinded to something. And what I would be blinded to is, no, dude, the Switch is getting all those third-party games. It's not missing anything. Or the overwhelming majority of those games are like smaller, I don't want to say slop games, because there's probably a lot of amazing smaller indie games as well. I mean, there is, but like, we're talking, it's mostly Nintendo first party games, and I guess shovelware would be the term, but just a lot of, like, I guess what I'm trying to say is, while it is true, seemingly, which I didn't know this, that the Nintendo Switch library is like the biggest, it's still missing the most amount of modern day AAA games. Would that be a true statement? Because that's really what I'm referring to here. And if anything, if that is true, then I think that reinforces that Sony might need to be a little bit worried, just a little bit. Again, not a lot. I'm not saying this is full-blown console war territory. It's not. But they need to be a little bit worried, because if that's true, then it's like, so hold on, the Switch already has the biggest library. They have the biggest library because any game that can get up and running on that hardware, it's going to, because it has the largest install base. Suddenly, when now that big gap that it was missing, the number the AI overview gave me was 4,400. The big gap that's missing there is, well, not only is it going to get all those games, now it's going to get all the games that it missed out on before. And you're saying, again, the Nintendo games sell the Switch. Well, yes, they do. They do. But what I'm describing here is, if Nintendo is very potent and very effective because of their first party games, we sell the hardware we sell because our first party games drive those sales. And we see how strong that is. We see how that's like, wow, nobody's doing it like Nintendo, right? And then they come out a year or two from now and like, so you remember how we said that n- no one's doing it like Nintendo in terms of first party software driving first party hardware sales, their own hardware? Now we're going to basically be able to say we're going to get almost every game going forward, you know? I don't know if that's going to happen. That is to me, that's the unknown. And you do pose something interesting here, though, Capcom lawyer, that I do think needs to be explored a little bit further, which is, well, just because the game's available on there doesn't necessarily mean that's where people are going to buy it. And that's absolutely true. And that's another thing that I think Sony can lean on in that, yeah, like when we talk about the idea of Call of Duty being available on the Switch, we know that like PlayStation is basically the home of Call of Duty in terms of general sales, and it has the biggest player base for Call of Duty, for better or worse, right? That's just the way it is. How many people, how many not people, how many Call of Duty fans are going to be like, "Whoa, bro, Modern Warfare 4 is available on the Switch too. I'm going to play over there instead." I mean, it's reasonable to think not many. Not many. Because, you know, I think at that point it'll boil down to how important is it for you to play Call of Duty on the go. And I think that's where the PlayStation handheld, that is Sony's, that's their way to stop you from leaving, possibly. Where it's like, okay, let's flash forward to 2027. Does anybody know what Call of Duty 2027 is supposed to be? I don't know what it's supposed to be. Advanced Warfare 2? I don't know. We'll just say Call of Duty Advanced Warfare 2. Let's just assume that's what 2027's Call of Duty is going to be. All right. And it's going to be cross gen, whatever. It's going to be launching on the PS6. It's going to be launching on the PS5. It's also going to be launching on the Switch too. If there is a Call of Duty player, I'm talking like a loyal Call of Duty player where that's their game, like that's my game, bro. We know there's a lot of them. There is a chance that I don't know, we could say like, let's say it's 5% of the total Call of Duty player base on PlayStation 5. When they find out that they can buy this game on Switch, play them, subscribe to Nintendo Online and play it on the go and on their TV, like they can have both experiences. Let's say there's 5% of those players that would actually leave to go buy the Switch 2. And Sony could potentially lose those 5% of players, where it's like, even if that's like the only game they really play on PlayStation, they lose them to Nintendo by Sony having their own handheld, where it's like, no, 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 we have that too. We can now say we offer that too, not through streaming with the portal, but I mean like full blown, just like the Switch 2, and actually even better. It might be more expensive. We still don't know the pricing, but it's like even better, right? It'll look and run even smoother. I don't know. I think it just doesn't hurt. Well, at least I don't think it can, for Sony to cover their bases like this. And I do think that Hideaki Nishino straight up saying like we need to start winning back market share in Japan, I think that is a very clear and frankly just in your face confirmation that like they're taking Nintendo and what's going on with the Switch 2 a little bit more seriously. Which again, it if anything, it starts to indicate that I don't think Sony's paying as much attention to what Microsoft is doing and what Valve is doing, which some people might not like that, but I think that actually is what this kind of indicates. Again, for better or for worse. And MVP Moss 84, a member for 5 months. Thank you for that, buddy. He says, do you think the PS6 handheld will come with a dock? Also, a lot of the Switch games are mobile type games or even just slop knockoffs. It's a crazy terminology these days, but very true. It's a good question. We did hear in the leaked, or see, I should say, Moore's Law is Dead leaked the documentation, essentially, for Project Canis, which is the PlayStation 6 handheld. And it was listed on there that it is dockable, but it did not elaborate on whether that means. Here's my assumption. My assumption is Sony will have two bundles for the handheld. One will be just by itself, and it'll be for the person who already has a console and they are not interested in docking it. It's purely just for handheld purposes, and you'll save money. It'll be the cheaper bundle. I think the second bundle will be one that comes with a dock, where it's like this is for the player who maybe doesn't have a PlayStation console or is not going to buy the PS6 home console, and they want the whole thing and they want to be able to actually dock this thing. I think that's what they'll do, because if they say it's dockable, I mean, then that indicates there has to be some kind of docking station. But I don't see Sony making that the standard bundle or standard. Like, I don't think they're going to sell every PS6 handheld with a docking station, because a lot of people aren't going to need it. I think the docking station will essentially act as this generation's, well, and I think it'll be there for next gen too, as the disk drive, where just in the same way that it's like, do you want a PS5 with or without the disk drive? One will cost a little bit more, the other will be cheaper. It'll be the exact same thing. I mean, if it's not done that way, I will be very confused, because I don't know why it wouldn't be. Because the fact of the matter is, there's going to be a lot of PlayStation gamers who want to buy this and have zero need for that dock. So, yeah, I mean, I would buy the dock version too, just because I mean, I'd be so curious to see like how's this thing work. Like Sony, what'd you do here? It's very different. Not saying it would be my main way to game, but it would be interesting. Yeah. And Capcom Lawyer with another super chat. Thank you for that, buddy. He says, you can keep trying to push this narrative. Nintendo is not like PlayStation or Xbox. Nintendo fans are notoriously loyal to IP. Most have no interest in GTA or Call of Duty. Well, I wouldn't say I'm trying to push a narrative. I think that's framing it kind of somewhat harshly. Um, I'm giving my analysis. And, could it be that my analysis is like, dude, you are way off the mark. Like, you are out there in la la land when it comes to your analysis of why PlayStation is doing a handheld and why PlayStation is taking the Japanese market seriously and what's going on with the Nintendo Switch. I will say I was wrong once already, right? I was wrong about my assessment of, and there were people, they told me, they were like, MBG, you're sitting here prior to the launch of the Nintendo, for the whole year building up to the Switch 2, you're sitting here saying that this thing is going to come out and get the strongest third party support. And it's going to be, it's going to be getting every game. A lot of people were like, that's not happening. Sorry, I'm a little distracted by the chat. And I told those people, I said at that time I could be wrong, but I was like, I don't know, man. I just have this hunch. I have this feeling that, my analysis at that time is I'm pretty sure Nintendo Switch 2 is going to get all the games, unless it's just technically not possible. Like every developer is going to be throwing themselves at the Switch 2 to get a Switch 2 version. And here we are. I mean, how many months has it been? It came out June. It's been almost half a year, It's almost 6 months. And it's like, it's not that it's not getting third-party support. It is. But it's not anywhere near the level that I thought it would be. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is I've been wrong before about my analysis of the whole Sony Nintendo situation. I am prepared to be completely wrong again. But it would, if we flip this over, and it's like, well, then, okay, if Sony's doing this in Japan, if they're doing this handheld and they're taking Japan much more seriously, and it's not because of Nintendo per se, then what else would be the reason? And it could just simply be that these are just stones that they still have yet to turn over. They left them unturned. It's like, well, hey, we got the PlayStation Portal that's doing well. Let's just get it. Let's just get a proper handheld out there. It's not meant to take on the Switch 2. It's not meant to compete with anything. Just there. It's possible. I mean, to me, that sounds it sounds somewhat likely because it's like Sony treated Sony was like a bit gun shy with the PlayStation Portal. Like they treated it like here's just the thing. We're not trying to overhype it because we don't know how people are going to take to it. And everybody was like, this thing's going to suck, isn't it? And then Sony was like, oh, okay. Like they really like it. Let's keep going. And so humble beginnings in a sense, where I think Sony went in thinking like this thing might fail. So let's just see. Low risk, $200 device. And I think that they were like genuinely surprised. We're like, oh man, this went better than we expected. This is great. Let's grow from here. Let's take it from here. That actually I think makes more sense in a sense where it's like if I look at what Shuhei Yoshida said and he's like, yeah, Sony doesn't see Nintendo as competition. When they do their board meetings, they're not really talking about Nintendo. And I'm like, okay. I look at that paired with the fact that they have a PlayStation Portal that did better than they expected. Yeah, that would explain the PlayStation 6 handheld pretty well, wouldn't it? Without bringing the Switch in at all. When it comes to the third-party situation, I mean, yeah, there's no guarantee. There's still no guarantee. We're hearing rumors. We're hearing reports of what's happening potentially behind the scenes with third parties in the Switch too. But we get reports of stuff all the time that turn out to be false. So I guess what I'm trying to say is like, to me, this is very much a coin flip moment where there's a 50% chance I'm going to be right. There's a 50% chance I'm going to be wrong. And at least that's how it feels to me. But do I think we'll ever get to gift memberships to a specified user? I imagine eventually YouTube will implement that. Do you think the comparisons are silly? Perhaps. I mean, I think it makes for some good conversation, but it could end up ultimately being silly if it's like, yeah, no, GTA is never going to Switch 2 and like like GTA is never going to Switch 2 and Sony's never going to sell 78 million copies of Astrobot Kart. Like it's like, yeah, okay, well, some things at this point might just be set in stone. We'll see though. We'll see. Um I find the timing, I will say this though, by the way. I will say this, and this is the last thing I'll say on this topic and we're going to move on. I will say Sony themselves did confirm that the reason they made this Japanese only bundle was because of the Japanese only Switch 2. I do want to put that out there. So that at the very least tells you that Sony reacted directly to at least one thing Nintendo did. Now, is it a situation where they were like, holy shit, I didn't think they were going to do that. We need to do that now too? Or else? I don't know if it was that. I don't know if it was like a knee-jerk reaction or if it was more just along the lines of, they're doing that. Maybe it would be a good idea if we did it too. I don't know. I don't know which is which here. Because the one thing I will say is it seems like Sony is going to be selling this console at a loss in Japan. And that, the only time we really see Sony doing something like that, because that's not normal of Sony these days. Sony is like, they're like, we're not going to sell at a loss. The last time we saw them do that was when they really, really messed up with the PS3. So, yeah, and the Japanese market or economy is like really trashed right now, I think, too. So it's hard to say, man. It's hard to say. Here's the real question, though, right? Final thing. The real question is Sony going to have a Japanese-only version of the PS6 and the PS6 handheld where it's going to be sold cheaper? Are they going to pull a Nintendo Switch 2 with their next-gen hardware? I think this might be a precursor to that, and that could be a pretty big deal for them in Japan if they can do that, especially for the handheld. So, yeah, I thought that was a good discussion. No, I wanted to talk about this a little bit further or a little bit more and take it a little bit further, only because yesterday, again, I meant to have this discussion with you guys, but I got lost in analogy land somewhere. So, guys, we're sitting at 77 likes. All right. I appreciate you getting us to 70, past the 75 like mark. Let's see if we can bump that up to 100. Okay. And no, I didn't see that. You're saying, did you see Tomb Raider Shadow dropped on the Switch? Are you talking about, well, which Tomb Raider are we talking about? I did not see this. I got lost in the sauce, Carlos. Make sure you're hitting that like button. We're sitting at 78 likes. All right. I think we could definitely get to 100. Oh, not at all, Capcom lawyer. To answer that question, do I expect the PlayStation handheld to break the Switch 2 sales record for its launch? Unless Sony does something crazy where they're like, we are going to sell this thing at a loss globally. Unless they do something crazy like that, I don't think so. Or unless they have some kind of crazy exclusive that no, I don't think so, man. The Switch 2, I'll put it to you this way. If the first game that Nintendo revealed that was going to be like a launch exclusive was Mario Kart, knowing that Mario Kart 8 sold like 78 million units, yeah, no, I don't think there's anything Sony could do to break that record. Unless, and I'll add this caveat, assuming they sell a PlayStation 6 and a handheld as like, you know, they're separate PS6 devices, but they're both PS6s, right? Technically. So whether you buy the handheld or whether you buy the console, we will count them together. You know? If they do that, then yeah, I think there's a possible chance they could if there's enough hype and the lead up to it is smooth. But I don't know, man. The Switch 2 is killing it. So good luck, Sony. Really. I believe in them though. I would like to see that. That'd be awesome. Michael says hit the like button. Is there an Xbox stream? Yes, there is an Xbox partner preview tomorrow. I will be streaming that because I'm going to be live anyway. So I go live at 12 Eastern and the show starts at 1 p.m. Eastern. So we'll have about an hour to just kind of like talk about another topic or something, and then we'll just live stream that. I don't know how long it's going to be. I'm assuming it's not going to be that long. Maybe like an hour at most. Maybe 40 minutes, 30 minutes. I'm more interested to see Tides of Annihilation. 007 is going to be there, but Tides of Annihilation is the one I want to see. Garrett, Capcom lawyer, come on, chill out, guys. I swear, man, I always see people getting into little spats in my chat, and I don't know. I don't mind. Like I think disagreements can be healthy. I just don't want to see people, you know. Sometimes I see people, they get mad or something, and it's like it's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. You're chill. No, you're chill. You're chill. You're good. Capcom lawyer, Garrett, you guys are cool. It's all good. Michael says he wants to talk about his love for Lady Gamer. We do still have a couple of topics to go over and discuss, though. And like I said, guys, we're sitting at 35 members on the day. Thank you. Yeah, no. Garrett, I'm not saying you're upset. No one here is upset right now. I'm saying in the past that has happened sometimes. Not with anybody here, but I always get disappointed when I say that because I'm like, like it's all good. It's all good. We're just talking games. Yeah, so guys, we're sitting at 35 members. Thank you so much for getting us to 35 members. We're going to see as this stream continues if we can hit that 50 mark. Like I said, we're going to be doing a members lounge after this once we finish up today's stream and today's topic. So if you want to contribute any more to the member goal, feel free to do so. And we are sitting at 3 out of 10 for the super chat. So slowly but surely, we're making our way. Well, although what's the timer at? The timer is it always sneaks up on me. We still have over an hour left. An hour and 1 minute, actually, to see if we can hit that super chat goal. So thank you guys for all your support. Yeah, did Half-Life 3 get announced yet? Irvin, is that article? Is that the same article you sent me earlier? Yeah, so we'll keep trucking along here. and maybe towards the end that could be like a bonus topic because I have that up. Where am I at here? Hold on. Oh yeah, so I don't know how long I'm going to spend talking about this topic, but I felt like I had to cover this because I totally missed it in my video. But Michael says, hit the like button like I'm hitting the gym. Intense and thrustfully. Bro's thrusting at the gym. All right, so on the PlayStation blog, PlayStation's Black Friday deals 2025. Unmissable deals is what they're saying. This Black Friday, discover incredible savings on PS5 consoles, accessories, games, PlayStation Plus, and more. Here at PlayStation, we're excited to celebrate the holiday season and another year of gaming experiences with PlayStation's Black Friday offers, which kick off this week. Starting from November 21st, for a limited time, games and gift givers alike can explore a range of incredible deals on PS5 consoles, games, accessories, and more across the PlayStation Store. Direct PlayStation.com, PlayStation Gear, and participating retails. Bro, you guys just told me PlayStation Gear is shutting down next month. They're trying to clear it out. PlayStation, they've never mentioned, I don't think they've ever mentioned the PlayStation Gear store. Yeah, incredible savings. You can now buy the PlayStation 5 at its original launch price. How cooked are we, man? Sony, hire me. I'll be like the spokesperson. I'll talk like that. How cooked are we though? That's where we are at. I don't know actually. I haven't looked at the deals yet. Everything must go. You know what's crazy? They're not even treating it that way. They're gonna shut down the PlayStation Gear store, but they're not treating it like they're liquidating. You know, like everything must go. They're not. They're just like, we're still gonna sell it at a profit. We ain't taking a loss. Am I selling it pretty good? All right, let's see. It says, visit the official PlayStation Black Friday site starting on November 21st for updates on local offers, as promotions will vary by region and retailer. And the first bundle we're going to show you, get excited, the Fortnite Black Friday bundle. That's right. Fortnite. I mean, I laugh, but if I was Sony, that's what I would do. Okay? I'm going to make the Black Friday Fortnite bundle. Who wouldn't make the Fortnite bundle? They say here, this year, save on hardware and accessories, including PlayStation 5 console offerings, PlayStation VR 2, that's right, we didn't forget about it, PlayStation Portal, please buy 2, and DualSense controllers, please buy 5, and more. You can find these offers on direct.playstation.com, where available as well, okay, as participating local retailers. I really messed that one up. It was going so good. But here we go. It says deals on PS5 console offerings include the digital. I'm going to throw up, man, because there's another aspect here that's everything about this is cursed, bro. Okay, the PS5 digital edition 825 gigabyte Fortnite Flower and Chaos bundle. Okay, there's a lot wrong with this. It's going to be available at $400 US. 400. So the reason why I'm going to throw up here, and I guess it's not, I don't know. Is it Sony's fault? Is it the economy's fault? I don't know. But I'm going to throw up either way. This is how I should be the voice over the state of play. Yeah. Here's some more slop coming your way. Dude. I'm going to tell you why this is so cursed. Not only is this a digital only console, no disk drive, but it was supposed to be 1 terabyte. Sony had to cut back. We're back to the 825 gigabytes. Okay. And the sale price is $400. Do you guys remember when the PS5 launched and there was a digital edition for $400? Oh my God, bro. Black Friday deals are getting crazy. They say the PS5 console 1 terabyte Fortnite Flower and Chaos bundle will be available at the recommended retail price of $450 US. Now, does that one come with the disk drive? So you would be better. Like, listen, I'm sure no one here is planning on buying this Fortnite bundle for Black Friday, but just in case you are, just in case, or if you're going to buy it for a family member or something, I think you want to go with the $450 version because, I mean, that is cheaper. That's $50 cheaper than when the PS5 launched. So we're not actually back at least for the digital model, you're still at the launch price. But with the 1 terabyte model, you're getting a disk drive and more storage for $50. I think that's the way you want to go. If you're going to do this. All right. Hard drives sold separately. Yes. We're making such great progress. Continues here by saying the bundle offerings feature PlayStation exclusive in-game content ***, and 1,000 V-Bucks in select regions. Players can also save $100 on PS5 consoles and $100 on PS5 digital edition consoles ***. Gamers looking for the most visually impressive PS5 gaming experience can also save $100 on the PS5 Pro ***. They don't put the price though. I love it. They don't tell you how much it's going to be, but they'll just let you know you can save $100. Now listen, I ain't going to complain about that. Saving $100, if I'm not mistaken, that brings it down to $650, which is cheaper than when it launched. It got a $50 price increase. What we were supposed to be looking at, truthfully, is a $600 PS5 Pro. That's what we were supposed to be looking at this holiday season for Black Friday. But that's not happening. But you can still save $100. Now, they say there will also be offers on PS5 accessories and games, ***, including $100 off PlayStation VR 2, $20 off the PlayStation Portal Remote Player, $20 off the Pulse Elite wireless headset, $30 off the Pulse Explore wireless earbuds, $30 off DualSense Edge wireless controller, $20 off the DualSense wireless controller, $20 off the Access controller, and various discounts on PS5 games such as Death Stranding 2 on the Beach, Lost Soul Aside, Astrobot, and God of War Ragnarok. Now, here's where we get to the PlayStation Plus segment of the Black Friday deals, where I can only assume that those of us who are already subscribed to PlayStation Plus will get screwed over, because that's how this usually goes, unfortunately. And Capcom Lawyer with a super chat says they should charge us more, or we ain't real fans. You heard it here first, Sony. You better be charging me more. Sony, you need to test our loyalty. My God, dude, we need to be careful how earnestly we say that. We have to be careful how earnestly we say that, because we know Sony will be like, really? Oh, so you will pay $800 for the PS6? Don't ask me. Don't ask me that question. I'm not answering it. Sell me, Sony. Sell me on the PS6, and then I'll buy it. All right. Anyway, let's talk about the PlayStation Plus segment. It says join or upgrade PlayStation Plus memberships with these special offers. Players in participating countries who join PlayStation Plus during PlayStation's Black Friday promotion can save up to 33% on a 12-month membership. Current PlayStation Plus members can save 33% on the remainder of their membership when they're upgrading from PlayStation Plus Essential to Extra or PlayStation Plus Premium/Deluxe. Now, I will say, you're not getting screwed over that bad, but it's still kind of weak. Basically, what Sony's telling you, as they usually do with their Black Friday PlayStation Plus sales, is, listen, if you're subscribed to Essential, you ain't getting nothing. When you go to renew Essential, you're paying the full price. You hear? Which I think sucks. You should at least offer some, like, even if it's like $5, like, please. But I at the same time, though, for somebody like me, I don't know if I'm going to upgrade to Extra or Premium. I don't know if I have much of a desire. It is at least nice to know, excuse me, if I do want to upgrade, during Black Friday, I can get a better deal. You know, it says save 33% on the remainder of their membership when you upgrade. So this seems to be Sony's way of trying to really incentivize current PlayStation Plus subscribers to upgrade. And I don't know, we've been seeing people express interest in doing so with the latest PlayStation Portal announcement. Mr. B, you're saying you'll let it lapse and then they'll offer you a deal. Dude, did you something I didn't report on, but it was being talked about was what's it called? Sony was basically messing around with the pricing. There's a specific name for it. Um Variable pricing, I think. Is that the name for it? Where basically it's going to give you a different price based on on your behavior as a consumer. And that is crazy, dude. Like, in other words, dynamic, thank you. That's the word I was looking for. Dynamic pricing. Yeah. In other words, what that means is, like, if you're somebody who's really, you know, conscientious and you're not buying that many games and you seem like a bit more stubborn in that sense, or you're focused on, like, only buying a few particular things, Sony might be like, oh, we'll give you a little deal. How about we'll give you a little deal? Meanwhile, if you're the person who buys a lot, like, you ain't getting nothing, bro. Now, I'm not saying they're doing that. There was some indication that they were experimenting with it. And it's like, dude, I oh yeah, here it is. Here it is. Thank you. This is on the Asmongold subreddit, which is crazy. But it says, was excited to finally purchase until I realized the price was lower on my wife's account. Red Dead Redemption 2 Ultimate Edition. On this player's account, it was says it's down from $100 to $20. On his wife's account, the same game is $15. So it says here, my wife doesn't play much, and so buying it on her account may not be the best decision to keep everything easily accessible for me. Seeing this soured me on buying it quite a bit. And for reference, it's the same region, same PlayStation, same currency, etc. So stuff like that is, I just think it's scummy. It's just like, dude, Sony, you can't do that. Like, I know you want more money from people who are willing to give it to you, but this isn't the way to go about it. Like, you already did it. Like, you're asking people, you're giving your most loyal players who are getting platinums on your games and fans of your games, you're giving them the opportunity to now buy merch from you. They're selling a $150 Ghost of Yotei jacket if you platinum the game or get the gold trophy for beating it. And it's like, I think, Sony, I think you're finding ways to get more money from your most loyal consumers. I don't think you have to go this route, And a lot of people don't even like a lot of people don't like that Sony's doing that. I just look at it as whatever, man. Like, you don't have to buy it. It's kind of crazy, but you got well, that's the thing, Irfan. You don't receive it. You have to buy it. That's what makes it funny. Oh, what's that, Irfan? Irfan, we heard that you just got the platinum for Ghost of Yotei. Congratulations. Thank you for being such a loyal PlayStation player, consumer, and fan. Now, would you like to buy this $150 Ghost of Yotei jacket? Only you can buy it because you platinum the game. I mean, that is kind of crazy, dude. It's to me, it's not as egregious as some people made it sound, because it's like, you don't have to buy it. You can just pretend this doesn't even exist. But it's there. If you're interested, it's there. $150 jacket is crazy. Capcom lawyer saying, LOL, what's the comments on that subreddit say? Hold on. Ever wonder why your data is mined? Target billing fees. It's only the beginning. So he says, not surprised. Companies will do anything for cash. This is just trying to make the offer the most appealing to the person who does not play as much. so they play more and prices can skyrocket again. That's what happens when there's no sticker on the box. There is no box. There is no employee that would have to take time to stick a new price sticker, and there is no cash bulging out of your wallet, etc. But then the store is not in the next town over. It's right at your fingertips. Rejoice. It's an interesting way to view it. Yeah, I mean, the difference between digital buying and see, this is where Sony is going to have to take notes from Valve. They're gonna have to. And that's where Sony might feel like, no, we're bigger than Valve. It's like, no. As far as I'm aware, Valve doesn't do stuff like this. Valve is known to have some of the best sales digitally, like unbeatable sales. I'm not saying like Sony's going to copy them overnight and do that, but I don't think Valve has ever done or even attempted to do dynamic pricing. And it's like, Sony, if you start to do dynamic pricing, you're going in the literal opposite direction that you need to be going in. Where it's like, we need you to get closer in this regard to what Valve is doing. And this is actually getting you further away. So I hope that they realize that this is just not a smart move. But we'll see what they do. I haven't seen many other examples of this. I don't know. What if it was like a glitch? I doubt it. But what if it was like a bug or something? I don't know. I guess we'll see. I'll keep you guys updated on that. We'll see if this dynamic pricing situation is something they actually want to pursue. Because if so, like, dude, I will tell you, I already support the physical games market. You know, I mean, I still buy some things digitally, but if this is the direction they start to go in, it's like, oh yeah, no, Sony, I will. Come on, man. Like, if you're trying to give me and many others out there, this is why I always try to encourage people, like, consider buying physical games. Just consider it. I'm not trying to make a big deal out of $5. I'm just saying, you know, go check how much Red Dead 2 is physically. You know? And I'm just saying, go check. All right? Might be worth buying it physically instead. That's my big thing here, Mr. B, is I need to see them continue to support physical media next generation. I don't know how I would handle that, to be honest. Like, that to me is like the day of reckoning with me and PlayStation. And I don't want to be overly dramatic about it, but it's like, if Sony comes out and it's like, we're done with physical, it's like, I might be done with play. I don't know. I don't want to say I'm like going to for sure. It's not like I'm going to, I'd have to see. I would take a step back and be like, well, Sony, that's a damn shame, because this was one of the biggest reasons I'm still on board with most of what you do. You know, like, I'll still play your games, but I'm just saying, like, for me, physical media and physical games, it has always been there for PlayStation. It's never not been there, and it to me is a pillar, one of the pillar reasons why I am still on PlayStation. Like, for example, Xbox pretty much doesn't do physical anymore. I left Xbox as my main platform years ago, but even if I had stuck around and they, and I saw like they're done with physical, that's what would have pushed me away. Because to me, I don't know, man. To me, physical is important. It's also one of the reasons why I've never had that much interest in going to PC gaming, because to me, it just means something, So I just hope Sony is aware of that. I don't know if they care, but surely I'm not the only one. I know a lot of people buy physical PS5 games and collect them, and if not even just for collecting, but that's how they want to buy their games, or they have to buy their games that way. And I think there's a lot of PlayStation players, and I wouldn't underestimate it. I think there's a lot of PlayStation players that if you take that away, they might go to. Like, they might just be like, all right, well, I'm just gonna go somewhere else then. You're saying that the rumor is the next Xbox won't have an online paywall. That would be interesting. I really wonder how Microsoft's going to handle that, because that's a lot of money they're giving up. I'd be all for it. And I would, my whole thing with Sony and PlayStation, like, I don't mind paying for PlayStation Plus. I really don't. I'm not one of these people where it's like that's the make or break situation. I'm not saying I want Sony to charge more for it. I don't. In fact, my biggest criticism is Sony. In my opinion, Sony needs to have a lower PlayStation Plus tier where it's like, listen, if you want to continue to be greedy, which we know you do, and you want to charge for online multiplayer, can you at least have like a cheaper, like more basic tier? Because $80 to me is a lot, Again, I pay it. It's whatever. I don't mind getting the PS Plus games, but it's just like I don't really play many of these PS Plus games. I like to add them to my digital library, and I'm like, cool. I'm building a digital library through these PS Plus games. As long as I'm subscribed, I'll take that. But really, it's because it's like, yeah, I for any online games I play, I wish that they would offer a cheaper 30, even 40. I mean, even $40, I'd be cutting it in half, dude, for the year. But I don't think they're going to do that. And I don't know. If Microsoft does get rid of their online paywall with the next Xbox, that would be awesome because it's like, yeah, Sony, like, I'm not saying you need to copy exactly what they're doing, but like, make that cheaper version of PlayStation Plus. Now would be the good time. Now would be a good time to create a cheaper tier, just for. But that's the thing, because it's like the whole idea of doing a cheaper tier for PlayStation Plus. I think the reason they're not going to do it is because it's going to be a hard sell, even at a cheaper price point. Because it's like, oh, PlayStation Plus, $40 a year. What do I get? It's like nothing. It's like oh, yeah, you get nothing. Cool, huh? I'm telling you, I think that's why they can't do a cheaper tier. They would have to come up with something as like, so you get online multiplayer and so and so. And I don't know what they would offer. The not essential tier. Yeah. The non essential tier PlayStation Plus. Yeah, it'll be interesting if Microsoft does that, though. I agree with that 100%. Yeah. Sony's so cheap with that, dude. Cloud saves and backups. I can't believe they charge for that. I understand, like, from their perspective, you're like, we're just sweetening the deal. It's like, no, you're not. You're taking something that is common practice to be free and trying to gaslight people into thinking this is incentive. It's like it's not incentive. It should be free. I agree with that. And yeah, this is where we've talked extensively how I don't think Microsoft is going to be competing with Sony in a hardware space anymore. But they're still going to have a platform. I don't know if it'll be a thriving platform, but it'll be there, and Valve will be there too. Valve is there. I hope that Sony is at least watching some of this stuff. And yeah, I'll tell you what, like, if a year from now Microsoft announces like, yeah, we're removing the paywall for multiplayer on Xbox, I would be like cheering them on and saying this is good. And Sony, you should, you know, take notes, do something, like react. Sony, react, do something. But I don't know if they will. So we can't forget that PlayStation Plus is still the dominant subscription service in gaming, which is shocking, right? Like, we've spent so much time talking about Game Pass, but even in all that time, like, Sony is still the number one subscription in gaming. And this is where it's like, until that changes, unfortunately, I don't think, and to be clear, I don't think PlayStation Plus is that bad. Like, I think I just watched this video and I was thinking about reacting to it in like a members lounge from Scott the Waz. I think that's his name, where he compared today like PlayStation Plus to Xbox Game Pass. And it's kind of crazy how, like, yeah, dude, PlayStation Plus Extra is pretty much like, dare I say, a better deal than Game Pass now. All in all, like, it's almost like a better comprehensive package, in terms of like the amount of games you get and the diversity and the quality of the games. And it's like, oh, like, I didn't realize. I like, when I was watching this video, I'm like, holy shit, I didn't know Extra was that good. Not that I care that much, like, and maybe that's why I'm so out of the loop, because I don't pay that close attention to what's going on PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium. I try to keep up with it, but you know, I didn't realize it was like, wow, okay, like Sony, you actually have like a not it's not even just a serious competitor. It's like this, I don't know, man. Like I'm seeing more and more people say like PlayStation Plus Extra is better now. Like that is the better option for the price they're asking for a yearly subscription. And I guess this is why I think Sony like they have to keep the essential tier for people like me. But I'm more and more just starting to think like should I just be part of extra because it's like if it's that good of a deal, you know, for what is it 130 or 100 is it 130 or 160 a year? And I'm paying 80 a year just for essential. But I don't know, for me I would have to really think about if I'm actually going to use it's 135. Okay. You think they'll raise the price the more that people use it? I mean, there's a chance that I'm surprised they haven't raised it already. I got to be honest. Like this is a similar situation like what we saw with the hardware. When Xbox raised their price, I was like, "Oh yeah, like Sony's next." Sony didn't for a little while. Like it took longer than I expected. And they still didn't raise the price as much. I am still kind of waiting for Sony to announce like I mean, dude, Game Pass is $30 a month now. Like Sony, I'm waiting for the blog post. Hasn't happened yet. Hasn't happened yet. So I'm like, all right, well, maybe Sony's gonna actually be smart about it and lean into the fact. And lean into the fact that like, well, you know, people are starting to we're starting to see some conversation that maybe PlayStation Plus Extra is better than Game Pass now. It's a better deal than Game Pass, you know? I think Sony like that's really good for them, right? Like that's a good perception to have. But delaying the price right. Well, that's the thing, dude, is like I get in my opinion the only way Sony could justifiably raise the price of PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium is if they add something more to it that actually feels worth it. That was the problem with the Game Pass price increase is, if you go back and watch that video that they put out, they were like it's getting even better for you and we're like we highly doubt that. And then they like told you the different things that they're adding and it's like, bro, this is objectively worse and you're trying really hard to like sugarcoat this blow. And I get it. That's the whole they have to market it and PR has to handle it that way. But for me it's like if Sony's like we're going to raise the price of PlayStation Plus Extra, but in return you're getting uh you're getting a Fortnite battle pass or some shit. It's like no. No. Um But yeah, I don't know. I'll think about it because my whole thing is at some point in the not too distant future, I want to get a PlayStation Portal and I want to at least try out the cloud streaming. I don't think I'm gonna use it that often, but I want to try it just to see what it's like. Bro, really, Michael? Yeah, I mean that's I think that's the concern with pretty much every company these days, right? Is it's just how many companies are raising prices because they legitimately have to? How many companies are raising prices because of greed? And most of the time, it's greed. I hate to say it, but it's true. When you get companies posting record-breaking profits, and they're doing great. It's the nature. Unfortunately, it is the dark side of capitalism, where nothing can stand in the way of growth. And it is, the truth of the matter is the truth of the matter is that every time we see these companies announce a price increase, what they really should be saying is there's a really good chance we're gonna we're gonna drop in the stock market, even slightly because of the changes with the economy, and we can't have that happen. So we're gonna make it so we can maintain our sustainability with our profitability, right? Our revenue streams and our profit streams. We need to sustain them. And you can see how, like, if they straight up put out a blog post, any company, if they put out a post saying that, a statement, they're gonna get torn to shreds. So it's just all come down to, well, let's just blame the economy and let's blame the tariffs and let's blame this and let's blame that. And like there's some truth. Like, unfortunately, it is true that, like, smaller companies that are trying to survive, like, for them it's real. You know what I mean? It's absolutely real. For the bigger companies, it's not that it's not real, but it's just like, you can't afford this, really. It's like, no, we can, but we ain't paying that. It's like, okay. And that's the problem, is like, have been trying to point out that it will always get passed on to the consumer, and that's true. Unfortunately, that's true. And so, you're going to see different subcategories of consumers. You're going to see really hyper aware consumers that are being very careful and meticulous about where they spend their money and how much they're spending on certain things. And you're going to see others that are just like, I was listening to what Matt Piscatella said recently, and he was saying that the way people are treating the PS5 price increase, generally speaking, is it's like they don't even notice. And I'm like, that's crazy, dude. It kind of makes sense, but it's still crazy because they're treating it like, hey, listen, the people who haven't bought PlayStation 5s yet and the people that are going out there like now to buy PS5s, they weren't even really paying that much attention to begin with. They didn't even realize that the original base price of the PS5 was $500. They didn't even know. So when they see 550, come on, boss, you need to stop. When they see 550, they're just like, oh, I guess that's just how much it is, And if they're told, if they find out that it's not 550, that it was originally supposed to be 500, they're still just like, okay, well, I'm still going to buy it. I'll pay the extra 50. And I'm like, that's, I guess, yeah, that kind of reveals that, there's a certain threshold seemingly where I feel like if it was $100 difference, maybe it's all psychological. I assume, or like if there was $100 difference, I think that makes somebody be like, whoa, hold on. I think there's a $50 difference. It makes somebody go, oh, all right. Like I think that's the psychological difference there. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but if the data that we're seeing and what at least some analysts are saying, it's like, yeah, I don't know. There seems to be a certain amount that these prices can raise until it's like you've hit you've hit the limit. From this point going forward, like, people are not going to accept this. Boss, stop. No, get down. You got enough treats. Don't make me have to take you out of the room. Yeah, that's true too. DSV, there's a lot of free-to-play games and demos on Steam nowadays. That's true. All right, hold on. I gotta, come on. I gotta escort him out. Sorry about that. No, I'm not giving him any more. I was serious, man. I gotta cut back on the amount of treats I give him. I noticed I've been doing that recently. Where I just, if he starts annoying me, I just give him more treats, not realizing, like, dude, that's their third serving of treats you're giving him, and that's very unhealthy. I'm trying to give him less overall. Let's give him a little bit when we hit our goal. That's it. He's gonna have to get used to that cutoff, dude. He's gonna have to get used to it. Yeah, boss got bounced. Yeah, dude, I'm so curious if this is why. See, Capcom alert. That right there is why I'm so curious to see what the Steam machine ultimately does in the hardware space. Again, I don't know that it's going to have some massive impact, but if it does in the end, yeah, Sony will have to, they'll be forced to look at that, man, and be like, now that does, see, I've never really paid much attention to that because I buy my games physically, but that would be such a huge win if Sony adopted a similar model for the PlayStation Store. But Sony doesn't even want you to cancel your pre-order, bro. So I don't think they're going to be doing that. Perfect Image, you're saying read your last. Um, saying wait, the Black Friday deal. You're saying Black Friday deal, get premium and the portal for $112, bro. Where are you seeing that? I don't think that's part of the deal, man. Oh, by the way, I need to finish with this PlayStation blog. Um, just so you're aware of the rest of the, we're almost finished. I'll just read the rest just so you're aware of everything. It says PlayStation Plus offers fantastic value with access to hundreds of games, including titles like The Last of Us Part 2, Cyberpunk, Mortal Kombat 1, and Hogwarts Legacy in the extra and deluxe slash premium tiers. All PlayStation Plus members get access to monthly games, exclusive discounts, online multiplayer, and more. In addition, premium members can also cloud stream select digital PS5 games from their library and the game catalog directly to their PS5 and PS Portal remote player, which is also part of the Black Friday deals. Additionally, within the Sony Pictures Core app, PlayStation Plus premium members also have access to the Sony Pictures catalog with up to 100 movies on stream on demand. During Black Friday's promotional period, all PS5 and PS4 players can enjoy movie discounts, while PlayStation Plus members can enjoy even deeper discounts on recent releases, including Bad Boys Ride or Die, Tarot, or more. And it says save big on PlayStation Gear. Head over to PlayStation Gear to save 60% off store-wide. My bad. They are doing a big blowout sale on all merchandise, including apparel, drinkware, and more from fan favorite titles like Astrobot, The Last of Us Part 2, and God of War Ragnarok. No promo code necessary. Visit gear.playstation.com for more details. And then finally, they say hundreds of game offers on PlayStation Store. Check out offers on hundreds of PS5 and PS4 digital games with savings of up to 75% on the PlayStation Store. Visit PlayStation Store when the promotion begins on November 21st to view the full selection and find out your local savings. So there you go. That is the entirety. I basically broke that blog post in half there. But yeah, not too bad. I mean, maybe it'll be, I don't know, it might actually be worth checking out that PlayStation Gear. I don't know if anybody here cares about PlayStation merch or anything, but you might want to check out that store because it's closing down at the end of the year. And so when they say up like 60% off, there actually might be some really crazy deals on there potentially where they are actually trying to. Yeah, that section was sponsored by Sony. That was an ad. No, it's really not. I feel like again a lot of people wait. It's pretty common practice. They wait for Black Friday, and so I mean, dude, people might be walking away from this Black Friday announcement from Sony being like, "This all sucks." I don't know, but you know, there you go. Flaccid Hamlog with a $2 super chat, bro, saying just platinumed Rat Shaker 2. 2 hours, S tier, my game of the year. Somebody stopped by yesterday, Flaccid, and said that they that you weren't kidding. Rat Shaker's amazing. So, oh Dillo, do you? Thank you for letting us know, guys. By the way, make sure you're hitting the like button. All right, we're sitting at 88 likes. I want to see if we can bump that up to 100. I'd really appreciate that. We only need 12 more. And we have one more topic that we're going to discuss. I don't know how long we're going to talk about it, but we have one more like major topic to discuss. And before we get into that, like I said, make sure you hit the like button. We're sitting at 35 members. We're going to still try to see if we can push to hit that 50 mark before we close out the stream today. We are doing a members lounge after this. So if you're a member, hang out for that. We're going to like immediately transfer over to it. Big Nabs, the official PlayStation Gear store. That's what it's called, PlayStation Gear. It's like Sony's official merch website. They're shutting it down at the end of the year. Oh yeah, maybe we'll play a song, Irfan. We got to hit the 50 mark though. We need 15 more memberships. If we do that, I'll play the song. I'll play a song. Rich Rod ain't here today. Not yet anyway, so. All right. So the final topic is, and actually, Irfan, we'll probably have time to go over your topic as well. Irfan sent me this article. This isn't the one we're going over now, but maybe it'll be a bonus topic. It says Microsoft was afraid Sony was going to own the living room. Xbox 360 boss Peter Moore sheds new light on its fierce battle with PlayStation and the origins of the modern console war. Very interesting. So I'm kind of curious to see what's going on there. No, quiet guys. You're gonna, dude. Wait, Capcom lawyer. Was that a thing? I don't ever remember that. That's crazy. But here's this really interesting piece of news that I'm going to tell you how I think this pertains to PlayStation. There's literally an advertisement over top of the article, though. Hold on. So it says here, being reported by WCCF Tech, Unity surprised everyone this morning during the Unite 2025 keynote in Barcelona, Spain, when Epic Games CEO Tim Sweeney was suddenly called onto stage to announce a partnership between the two companies behind the most used third-party games engine in the industry. By the way, I didn't realize it was the most used. It says here, Sweeney said he spoke with Matthew Bromberg, president and CEO of Unity, about the company's shared objective of supporting open digital platforms. The first result of this collaboration will be that Unity's brand new in-app purchase software development kit, SDK, will soon be available to Unreal Engine developers, allowing them to choose this API to handle cross-platform purchases. Sweeney noted that this will become even more important now that Google and Apple are being forced, after Epic's lawsuit, to open up the Android and iOS ecosystems a little. Arguably, though, the bigger news is that Fortnite, the Fortnite ecosystem, which boasts 500 million registered accounts, is embracing games made in Unity. Tim Sweeney said Fortnite is a huge game that hit 100 million monthly active users last holiday. And though it began as a little battle royale game that we built, over time, it has evolved into an ecosystem where 40% of total playtime is going to third-party content built by independent developers. They're earning hundreds of millions of dollars each year by participating in Fortnite, and now it's going to open up to all Unity games thanks to some really amazing network technology that Unity built that connects other engines into Unity through a networking protocol to make this work. So starting this year, Unity developers will be able to publish games directly into Fortnite to appear in Fortnite's discovery system alongside games built with Unreal Engine and to participate in the Fortnite economy as it evolves towards an open metaverse economy connecting all users and engines. So, yeah, guys, this is significant for a few reasons. Oh, thank you, Irfan. I'm afraid. We've never heard one from Perfect Image. Hold on, I'm afraid. I'm not going to play it yet, but um you're saying Unity's not a good engine. Well, I think there are some major implications with this, okay? That, though, to be clear, the implications have already been here and we've been talking about them. But I have been talking to you guys specifically about when we look at PlayStation, when we look at Microsoft, when we look at Nintendo, and we look at Valve, and we kind of try to figure out, like, everybody's headed in certain directions, and everybody's, while they're headed in those directions, trying to figure out, are we headed in the right direction? Are we headed into the actual future, or are we headed towards bankruptcy, or something that's going to die? Um, this is worth paying attention to because what you are seeing Epic do right now with Fortnite is something that Sony is absolutely going to have to pay attention to. All right. We already know how big Fortnite is. We already know how big live service games are. And I've talked to you guys about there's the kind of evolutionary cycle of games where there's the video game, there's the single player video game, there's the multiplayer video game, there's a live service video game, and then there's the platform video game. And the platform video game is again, if you're looking at it like as a Pokemon evolving into its final form, the platform video game is the one that really is having quite literally the biggest impact across the entire industry. If you want to know why Sony is very worried and concerned about how much money they're spending on their big AAA titles, sure, you can see that, well, Ghost of Yotei is selling millions, Spider-Man's selling millions, The Last of Us is selling millions, sure. But that doesn't change the fact that the base video game that I, refer to here in this tier, the single player video game, it's shrinking. Specifically in the AAA space, it's shrinking. And the reason it's shrinking is because people are buying them less. And the reason why people are buying them less is because they are spending their time and their money in one place or a few different places they don't need to leave, places that are endless platform games themselves. They're being consumed by a different platform. And the irony of this is it's happening on Sony's platform, right? So essentially, there are going to be video game developers right now, and you're probably talking about a lot of young devs, a lot of kids. Like we are. I mean, this is a revolution. We don't know it yet, but this is the revolution in gaming. Tim Sweeney knows it, and the creators of Roblox know it, and I think Rockstar and Take Two Interactive know it with what they're going to do with GTA Online 2. And it's sad because you know who knew it? Do you know who knew it? Media Molecule knew it. Believe it or not, Media Molecule may have been ahead of every single person under the roof at Sony, because this is the revolution where now not only is Fortnite literally one of the biggest platforms in the world, just generally speaking, it's one of the biggest platforms. It's one of the most played games. I mean, it has insane brand power or pull with brands. We know this. We know how well it does on PlayStation. We know that probably more than half of the active PlayStations that are on the market right now are people playing Fortnite and not leaving to play anything else. Sony knows that. We know that. But something you might not know, I think a lot of you do know this, but something you might not know is that in Fortnite, there is an economy. Developers, I mean, they are developers, but people, anybody can now make games and put their games onto Fortnite. And people can spend money in these games. People can buy these games. I think these developers, if I'm not mistaken, I haven't played Fortnite myself, but I'm fairly certain like they can actually put their own microtransactions in those games. And so it's like, I know with Roblox, that's how it works, where you can make any type of game in Roblox. And if you get a player base, you can then add your own microtransactions into your Roblox game. And what people do, I mean, mostly kids, I would assume, I would hope, kids will buy Robux, where that's more money in, in the company that's going into the Roblox company. It's more money for them. But then the people the developers who made that game and put it in Roblox and then put those microtransactions inside of Roblox to buy God knows what, community created assets, community created items, they get a little chunk of it too. They get a little slice of it. Do you see what's happening here? Do you see, like, we are beginning to see essentially storefronts within storefronts within storefronts, platforms within platforms, and Sony absolutely needs to be aware of this. I mean, they're well aware of it. They're not ignorant to it. But this is what every company at the end of the day is trying to achieve. It is a little bit concerning. It's a little bit concerning because it starts to make you question, well, like, what does this mean for the traditional single player game, the traditional AAA single player game? If this is what younger generations, this is what they're being introduced to, and this is what they're being absorbed into, where kids don't ever have to leave Roblox or kids don't ever have to leave Fortnite, and as we will probably see with GTA Online 2, teenagers and adults don't ever have to leave GTA Online 2, because anything you could ever want is right here. It's right here. And this is why I say Dreams was ahead of the curve and then some, because that's exactly, Dreams was an engine. It was an engine built by Media Molecule, and you're like, community generated content. And if you go on Dreams right now, maybe at some point I could do like a stream or something. I don't know. Maybe we could explore it. Like, you can find some insane stuff in there, man, and some really great stuff. And these are real games developed by real people, like real devs or people who taught themselves with the Dreams engine. And I remember back when Dreams first launched, there was talk of this. There was this idea that who knows, maybe, I remember Media Molecule, they were saying like we want people to be able to like actually publish games. They knew, but Sony was like, I don't know about any of that. Sony didn't know what to do. Sony was not equipped for that ambition. They didn't know how to facilitate that ambition. Now we're seeing it though. So it's like a decade later, but it's happening. And it's so crazy to me that like, dude, Sony could have been at the forefront of this if they figured it out with Dreams. And Media Molecule could be their most successful, development team by miles potentially. But this is getting crazy. Now we're seeing Unity. We're seeing Epic Games announce that, hey, this game engine, the most used third party game engine in the world, you can develop a game in Unity and now you can sell it or release it on the Fortnite marketplace and the Fortnite economy. Dude, this is getting crazy. And Sony needs to figure out what they're going to do in this space soon because this is only, you're only going to see this stuff continue. Capcom lawyer with a super chat. You're saying Roblox released to the public in 2006 with the freedom to do what they want. So they were ahead of everyone. Dreams was in 2020. LOL. Oh, you're right. Yeah, you're right. I didn't know Roblox was that old, to be honest. And I guess when I think of Dreams, I'm thinking back in like 2015, 2014, when Media Molecule was like coming up with the idea and like, here's the game we're going to make. It took them a long ass time to make it. But yeah, Roblox, if I'm not mistaken though, Roblox did not, what year did they introduce the ability for people to create their own games and release their own games in the Fortnite storefront, I guess? I don't know what year that. Surely that wasn't there in 2006. But they established it. They're like, yeah, it's a freedom to do what you want, right? And that naturally evolved into, you know what? Shit, why don't you make your own game? You're telling me you could do that from the moment it launched in 2006? Well, okay, so the idea of you could build your own games in Roblox when it first launched is not shocking. But there's no way it was like monetized. Was it? That would shock me, dude. And actually, it would explain a lot. It would explain why Roblox is at the top of their game right now, dude. In terms of like, how prominent they are and how much money they make. Because if they were doing that stuff from back in 2006, oh my god, that's beyond being ahead of the curve. I guess what I'm just trying to say though is like Sony has to figure out their place in all of this. Yeah, and that's a massive problem too, whiskey gaming. Obviously. I don't Roblox frightens me, dude. It really does. Because have you seen this game? Gary's Mod is as old also. It helped create Counter-Strike and other games. Yeah, I guess you're right. I remember Gary's Mod. Never really played it, but I remember how big it was. And I guess what I'm really trying to say is like we're seeing these maybe these ideas and these concepts are not that old, right? Maybe they're not that old. Maybe they have been around for a while, but I feel like that we're on the precipice of like now we're going to see like these things were always, I guess you could say, on the cutting edge, and they were novel ideas that no one really, I think, knew for sure. It's like, is this actually going to be the next big thing? Maybe now, in the same way that I think in the long run, and I'm talking the long run, I'm talking like 100 years or some shit from now. In the same way that VR, being in a virtual world with your senses, that is the future of gaming. Like, again, I'm not saying like 10 years from now, I'm talking decades and decades from now. That is the future. Make no mistake. That's where we're headed. I mean, my great grandkids, like, they're going to literally be entering these worlds. and their brains are going to be completely tricked, and they're going to be able to touch things and feel things. It's going to be the whole thing. That's the long run, technologically speaking. But no one knows. Like, so are we talking like 25 years? Or are we talking 100 years? Because if it's 100 years, that doesn't matter right now. Even if it's 25 years, that doesn't really matter that much right now. Um, some, but I think we're seeing that on a smaller scale with this, where it's like in the earliest days of these types of platforms, being built, it's like, what's going on over here? It reminds me of like what's it called? Remember like what was the name of that cloud streaming service? It was like the first gaming cloud streaming service. And I don't think it's around anymore. But it was like unheard of. Now, and it wasn't Stadia. This was like way before that. Somebody's got to know the name of this service. I forget what it was called. But it was like, you know, hey, it's on the tip of my tongue. It's on the tip of my tongue. No, it wasn't that, Irfan. It was something else. Damn it. I can't think of it. But there was this streaming service that was there, like back during the 360 and PS3 days, practically. On Live. Thank you. That was the one. On Live. I remember seeing that and I'm like, what the hell is this? And it was like unheard of, where it's like, yeah, you could just stream your games. Now, maybe it was way too early because it's like, bro, how strong does your internet connection have to be? You know? But it never really became a big thing. But the people who created On Live, like they knew. They're like, to a degree, this is the future. Like this is how a lot of people are going to want to play their games. And granted, we're still not there. Even with Sony and Microsoft, with xCloud and PlayStation Plus Cloud and all that, we're still not there. Where that's not the main way people want to play their games. But it was so clear that like this is going to be a thing. But at the time, it was like, what the hell is this? Like, no, literally, no one wants this, bro. No one's interested. And I feel like when you look at these platforms in their earliest days, they kind of start the same way sometimes, where you know, is this what people want? And it's like, well, yeah, a lot of people do want this, but this isn't mainstream. This isn't the next big thing, not yet. And then you have things like Fortnite, where Fortnite literally started as a building game or like a tower defense game. Then they're like, let's just do a battle royale. Then it became the biggest game in the world. And they're like, maybe we can turn it into a platform. Now they're turning it into a platform. Like maybe we can get other game engines to be compatible with this platform. Now they're doing that. And this is it's the game engine partnership that's really got me here. Because I'm like, obviously you see everything that's going on with Fortnite, and it's like, dude, they're killing it. Fortnite is permanent, dude. But now they're taking it, they're doing something that I believe, I'm not sure if I'm correct in this, but I think this is unprecedented. I don't, just let's make something clear here. This is the equivalent, by the way. This would be the equivalent of if Rockstar were to launch GTA Online 2, tell you GTA Online 2 is a platform. It's a platform, and you're going to have user-made content. And people will be able to make all these different games inside of the GTA universe using their assets, using their engine, using the tool sets. And some games will be amazing. It's like we made a military first-person shooter in GTA Online. And you could play that. And it's called, the, I don't know, like the Call of Obligation. I don't know. Just they'll call it something like that. And it'll be like a big game. And like it'll get maybe 10, like it could, because of how many people will be on GTA and how many people will be on GTA Online, it could get tens of thousands of players. And then those developers will be able to monetize those games. Yeah, I mean, it depends on how Rockstar wants to handle it. If they want to have a tight grip on it, if they want to control it and keep it very, and to be fair, like Take-Two Interactive and Rockstar have been known to be like that. Tim Sweeney and Epic Games, they're the opposite. They want everything to be open everywhere. But just for the sake of just for the sake of trying to like get you to understand like how kind of a big of a deal it is that they're letting another game engine in. This would be the equivalent of Rockstar saying, and you can make a game in Unreal Engine 5 and bring it over to GTA. You can bring your Unreal Engine 5 game into GTA Online 2. That's basically what we're looking at. And that's crazy. Like to me, that's entering new territory to me. Because that's like, wow, that's interesting. That kind of sounds like what the PlayStation Store is. And that kind of sounds like what the Xbox Store is and what Valve is and what Steam is. And you know what I mean? Like, and it's weird because it's like, is Fortnite going to be the first one to like it's a storefront and a platform, like a literal gaming platform and storefront somehow fused into one? And I mean, you could say that that is what PlayStation is, but there's something like PlayStation didn't start out as a game. You know what I mean? Sony, people talk about PlayStation Home. PlayStation Home was ahead of its time. That you listen, look at the quote um from Tim Sweeney. He says, "Participate in the Fortnite economy as it evolves towards an open metaverse economy, connecting all users and all engines." The metaverse. What is the metaverse? I mean, the metaverse is what this is all headed towards, man. I mean, that's what makes PlayStation Home so in some sense, PlayStation had these people, these like innovators walk through their doors and like it's like and this is true for a lot of big companies. It's like I'm showing you, I'm giving you the future right now. And it's like, yes, this is great, but then it's just the timing is off. Where it's like this is the future, but the future isn't now. And when you think about, well, what is a metaverse? Well, that's what Fortnite is turning into ultimately. And I know that I'm going to go a little bit off the rails here. So bear with me. Okay. You have to, we have to think big here. We have to think not in timetables of 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. We're talking in timetables of decades. And I'm not saying this is relevant. I'm not saying you should care where we are 100 years from now because you'll probably not be around in 100 years. Neither will I. But if you just really want to like sometimes have that more broad, far future thinking, the metaverse is the future because what the metaverse is actually going to be is exactly what I said when it comes to VR. When you look at something like PlayStation Home, it feels so innovative to a degree because it's like, wow, it's like a virtual space you live in, just like what I do now. I walk around my home. I furnish my home. I can buy things and decorate my home. It's like, yes, you can do that in here too, except there's no goal. You know what I mean? Like it's not like The Sims. It's not a life sim. It's like, no, like this is your virtual hangout spot. That is like the metaverse. It didn't. I don't know why PlayStation Home didn't catch on. I wasn't around for it. Like I didn't partake in it. But it's not the first of its kind. It's just Sony had a vision there. And what's crazy is like that is going to be the future. Where when in the long distant future, Fortnite will still be around. And I believe the way people are going to play Fortnite, I don't know. Again, we're going a little bit off the rails. I don't know how people are going to engage with it this way, like how they're going to jack in, so to speak. But you're going to be able to enter Fortnite. You're not turning on a device or like you're not turning on a console and it's going to pop up on your TV. Like you're going to be able to literally go inside of Fortnite. And it'll be on a level that it'll be just as convincing as where what you're doing right now, right? It'll be that convincing or close to it, very close to it. And from that point forward, you're going to have your own home. You're going to have all this, you're going to have a digital life, basically, a virtual life. And we have been seeing small hints of this throughout all the decades that gaming has been around. Where like, yes, people have these ideas, but the technology just isn't there. The technology still isn't there. but we are seeing the beginnings of it where, you know, in the future for PlayStation, right now, here's what your trophies are. Right now, your trophies are you boot up your PlayStation 5 on your 75-inch screen. Well, maybe not 75-inch, but like 65-inch TV. And then you go under your trophies tab and you explore your trophies. In the distant future, assuming PlayStation's still around, you're going to be able to enter some kind of space where you will be able to move around in it, and you will be able to enter like a room where here's all your trophies, and you'll be able to like click on each trophy and see a replay of probably an AI generated some kind of AI thing that's like it'll show you the exact moment and what happened, and you'll be able to watch it. And then from that point, it's like you'll be able to enter another room, and it's like, what game do you want to play? You know, and it's like, well, I want to play Fortnite, and then you'll click on Fortnite, and then it'll take you into Fortnite, and then when you're done, you get out, and then it's like, I'm gonna go check out the PlayStation Store, and when you go to the PlayStation Store, you're basically going to be shopping around. Now, I'm not saying you're going to be like walking aisles virtually, but I'm saying like you'll be in the PlayStation Store. It'll be more real. It'll be tangible to a degree. This is in the long run what we're headed towards. And it's so funny because, dudes, I don't know what Sony's going to do because they've figured this out just like other companies have, where it's like, we got PSVR 2. We got PlayStation Home. And it's like, that's all great, bro. We get it. You want people to live inside of PlayStation. Yeah, I mean, look at what they're doing with Astrobot. You think they're not signaling? Oh, where does Astrobot live? He lives in the PS5. That's the mothership. He goes in the PS5, bro. Oh, you want to boot up Astro's Playroom? You're in the PS5. Now imagine that. I mean, I'm being silly with it, but I'm serious, man. Like when we're talking the long-term future of the gaming industry, this is what this is headed towards. Where if you think people getting addicted to games now, where it's like they live on their MMOs and they don't want to get off, or they're addicted to the grind of the battle passes and just one more round. In the future, I mean, dude, people are going to be giving up their lives. They're going to be living different lives. I don't know how it's going to work exactly. Nobody does yet, but this is where it's headed. And I know it's like, well, how do you read about Unity partnering with, Epic Games and Unreal Engine and Fortnite and jump to that conclusion? It's just because they're talking about the metaverse, and the metaverse, the metaverse in the same way that people, you hear everybody talking about AI. All right, I'm really going out here now. All right. We're going beyond gaming. And I'm going to try to keep this. I've never seen that whiskey. No. Is that what that's about? I mean, these are like general ideas that have been around, I think, for a long time. And I think you see them in, in TV shows and movies. You read about it in books. It's fantasy. But just like AI has always been fantasy, like, I mean, really intelligent AI that changes the course of humanity, just like that has been fantasy up until now, where it's like, no, we might be on the precipice of that. It's always fantasy until it's not. And I mean, I know that this is going to sound kind of loaded, and I'm not trying to turn this into a existential crisis, members lounge, deep thinking, segment. I think that in the long run, once AI clearly surpasses humanity, assuming we have control over it, this is a huge assumption, assuming that we still control AI after it surpasses us, and AI literally outclasses human beings by a million times, where it's like we've created a god, essentially. Like, we've created a god that surpasses us in all ways. At that point, I think what we're going to do, if we get there technologically speaking, in the long run, we're basically going to be like, okay, hey, AI, you're going to take care of the planet. You're going to run everything in the real world. We're basically going to create the Matrix for ourselves. We're going in. we're out. You know, like, because it's better in there than it is out here, and you're better equipped to handle out here than we are. So we're just going to go in there. AI could force that. I know we're going deep, not too deep if you just keep the Matrix in mind. What I'm describing basically is the Matrix. That's why the Matrix is so incredible, because it really laid it out. Like, it seems so crazy, but it's like, actually, here we are 25 years later, and it's like, it's not that crazy. It's getting less crazy by the day, you know? And Capcom Lawyer with a super chat says, MBG, they are both companies who offer engines for people to make games, and they get a percentage. This is an obvious partnership to make more money. Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, I know I'm like not talking too much about the financial or business side of it, but yes, this is very much about, this is why I'm saying, like, dude, I feel like Tim Sweeney, he's like, we're going to create the biggest storefront through Fortnite. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, it's that power play, man, where it's like, what if Fortnite can be more? I mean, you know, is the money that Fortnite makes enough? Sure. Can it be more? Yeah. How? Let's make it so people can make their own games and monetize them. Okay. What next? Let's bring other game engines in here. Okay. Well, I mean, it's interesting for me to, it's interesting to me to think that, like, in the next 5 years, you could go on Fortnite and browse the Fortnite storefront, and you will find a game made in Unity that looks nothing. It wasn't made in the same engine that Fortnite was. It looks nothing like Fortnite. It looks like a game you would find on Steam or the PlayStation storefront, and it's just there, and you can buy it and you can play it. I know. I went way off the rails. I can't help it. Sometimes I just start to think about the far future like that. But I think in the next 5 years, like, I think that's what we're looking at. And yes, what that means, like, effectively, what Epic Games just did right there is, hey, Sony, that thing that is your greatest strength, where you have the PlayStation storefront in a closed ecosystem, we're doing that in the most open ecosystem. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, guys, Sony's going to have to find a way to make, if you want to know, like, listen, you know how for the last 5 or 6 years, we've been talking about, like, man, why is Sony trying to make their own Fortnite? And it's not just Sony. It's, you know, it's every company. Why is every company, including Sony, trying to make their own Fortnite? This is why, dude. Because this this is going to be, you, like, every major successful live service company, not every, but a lot of them are catching on to this. I don't know, that every one of them is going to succeed. Just like anything else, you're going to have your successes and you're going to have your failures. You're going to have your winners and your losers. But I think when you look at, let's say, so there's Fortnite, they're looking to create a metaverse and they're successfully doing so. Roblox, we mentioned that. I'm not, maybe GTA Online, like I said, could be the next one if they play their cards right. The big thing that Fortnite has, though, and this is why I don't think anything will ever touch Fortnite. The big thing that Fortnite has is its ability to market brands, and how every, when we talk, like, what makes Fortnite special, it's not its gameplay. It's not anything other than what makes Fortnite special is that Epic somehow found a way to make this the go-to destination for every company in the world, seemingly, to advertise and market their products, their IP. Even Sony did it, where they're like, yeah, let's put Kratos in there, bro. Let's put Nathan Drake in there. Even Sony did it. And that's something that I mean, for as successful as a game like Roblox is, even they're not doing that. No one's doing. I mean, you see many collaborations, but Fortnite has taken it, like, they've taken it to the end game very quickly, where it's like, what's more valuable to a company, like a video game company at this point, that's trying to advertise their game? a skin in Fortnite or an advertisement block on the PlayStation Store homepage. You see what I'm saying? Do you see why I'm saying like this is so Fortnite is such a fascinating game to watch and to see these moves that Epic Games is making. Sorry about that. But that's what makes it so fascinating to watch and observe because it's like Fortnite it truly does represent as of right now the kind of end game that many well yeah, don't get me wrong, the gameplay is sound. Like Fortnite has a competent, well-made gameplay loop for sure. And that's the wisdom of I mean, I don't know if it was Tim Sweeney, but somebody at Epic Games, they're like, hey man, there's this game PUBG that's blowing up, and they look at it and they're like, why is this game blowing up? And it's like, it has to be the battle royale gameplay loop. And I can attest to that as somebody who's played PUBG, absolutely. It's not necessarily a new concept, but the way it was executed was definitely unprecedented. And it's like, they're like, what if we did that, but made it much more broadly appealing to all? Like Fortnite, I look at it like in terms of the battle royale play space, Fortnite is like kind of like the Nintendo, right? Where I guess you say like PUBG is more like the PlayStation, where like PUBG is trying to appeal to a more somewhat mature audience, more realistic, more grounded. And it finds massive success doing so. But then Fortnite is like, well, what if we could just do that, but like appeal to everybody, including kids, most importantly, younger generations. And this is why I tell you guys, like when we see Sony doing some weird stuff with their live services where it's like, bro, who is this for? And it's like, it's obvious, like this is for the younger generation. Like they're trying so hard to create these things that are like, we need to get that 8-year-old kid that's playing Fortnite and will not move away from Fortnite. We're desperately trying to get like, please play our game. And it's crazy, dude, because I don't this is why I'll reiterate it one more time. This is why I've said for as much crap as I've given Microsoft and as much as I didn't want to see them go down the route of becoming a publisher necessarily and buying Activision Blizzard, I always said, like, dude, once they get Call of Duty, it's over. Because that's not something that can be made again, man. You can't, like, we are at that point where it's like, there's no guarantee that Call of Duty won't ever struggle or diminish, but I mean, it really seems like that was Microsoft. Where it's like we need just one thing, and mine. You could argue maybe Minecraft was that too, which is crazy because they own both. But it's like we need that thing that if everything else around us in the long term collapses, we'll have that go to live service game that just cannot be stopped. It can be diminished, it can wane, but it's never gonna go like and that's why I think like, dude, for everything I've said about Black Ops 7, like it doesn't change the fact that it's going to be one of the highest selling games of the year. It just is. It's crazy. And that's what Microsoft paid for. That's what Epic Games has, but to an even greater degree with Fortnite. That's what GTA Online is for Rockstar and Take-Two Interactive. That's what these sports games are to EA and Take-Two. That's what, that's what games like for Valve, like Counter-Strike, that's what they are. And Sony, like what PlayStation players don't understand is Sony doesn't have that. And I don't think the wider PlayStation audience, and not the wider, the more enthusiast audience, some of them understand, but I don't think many PlayStation enthusiasts understand. Like Sony is going to need that. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next year, but in the next 10 years, they're literally going to need that. And I don't know if Helldivers will be that. I don't know. Like this is why I've analyzed Helldivers so deeply since it released, and I've talked so extensively about it because it's like I still can't quite figure. I'm not so sure that Helldivers is it. I'm not completely convinced. But, you know, for Sony right now, that's all they have, right? Like that's the only thing that could possibly be that type of game for them. And to be clear, it's not because Sony wants to stop making single player games. No, it's not that. It's just it's a matter of seeing where things are headed and ensuring you can survive if things start to go south, you know. Um the market is very volatile right now and has been for a little bit. That volatility doesn't seem to be stabilizing, unfortunately. Um you know, there's still many winners and many losers. There's still going to be many winners and many losers. But I just, you know, I just think it's when I look at this move that's being made by Epic, and I just found it so fascinating where I'm like, and it begins, you know? Like now you're going to be able to start buying games or playing games and giving microtransactions to games inside of Fortnite that are not made that have nothing to do with Fortnite. That like that's the whole thing I'm trying. It has nothing. You can go log into Fortnite, play your Fortnite battle royale, buy your skins, buy your battle passes, and then when you're done, huh? Let me go to the Fortnite store and see what games are on there, and you can find a game again that looks like something you would find in the PlayStation store, and except Sony has nothing to do with it. Valve has nothing to do with it. It's all, and that's where you know when we talk about the money, that's the power play. And all of that was achieved through a what began as a live service game. Now, just to clear things up as I wrap this topic up, Sony does have this, except it's not a game. It is a platform. It's why when we talk about the idea of the platform wars already exist. They have existed for a little while, but the platform wars are not going to be anywhere near as intense as the quote unquote console wars because the platform wars are there's something that's not new, but they're being obscured by a way. They're being kind of clouded by other wars now, where it's like, okay, what started as just one general war, now we're seeing all these different wars in these different areas. If we're going with that, you know, analogy. And so now you're going to have the platform wars. Now you're going to have the live service game wars. And then I talked about the publishing wars, which also kind of intertwine with the live service wars. But then now you're going to have the live service platform game wars, where who's going to be the dominant live service platform game. And now you're going to have different engines and storefronts within those live service platform games. So we're just seeing like just all this branching off. And I guess that was that was always going to be the nature of how this went, because it's the nature of, you know, you're starting off playing Pong, and then you're playing NES games, you know, 8-bit games, 16-bit games, 32-bit, and then before you know, oh, we got 3D graphics, and then you're seeing the evolution of those 3D graphics to the point where we are now, where it's like, well, how much better can this really get? And it's like, well, yeah, no, that's just one piece of the puzzle now, dude. You know, look at everything else that's out here now. I guess it was always going to be this way. And we have Josh Z, a member for 67 months at Play Has No Limits Plus. Josh, thank you so much for that. I mean, that's crazy long time support, bro. 67 months? Incredible. Thank you. You're saying, MBG, I think PS5 will probably be my last PlayStation console. The technology just does not feel worth additional investment. I have no interest in top specs. Steam Machine will be my last video game hardware for the versatility. Interesting, Josh. Yeah, I think that makes complete sense, man. The only question I would ask is if Sony does PlayStation 6 exclusives, would that change your mind at all? Would it have to be a specific exclusive? But outside of that, I think what you're saying makes complete sense. And, you know, I do think that I do think that a lot of PlayStation 5 owners are going to feel exactly how you are. We're like, I'm good, dude. My PS5 is great. Like, I don't really need any more. Miguel, you're saying ABG Sony does have Epic stock, 2.5%, I think. They can always buy more and even put some of their games there, even live service games. Dude, exactly. Miguel, that's what makes it so crazy, Miguel, is it's like I said, if you can't beat them, join them. Sony will be like, you know what? We can't make our own Fortnite, but can we put Helldivers 2 in the Fortnite store? That day's coming eventually. I'm telling like I don't know. Well, I don't know. Maybe that won't. I don't know how that would work. How the hell would that work? I mean, geez, man, we're starting to. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy how far this could be taken. But Josh, that's interesting. You say your last hardware is going to be the Steam machine for the versatility. And yeah, man, I mean, there's this notion that if you have, assuming you don't care about handheld gaming, I'll just make the assumption you're not interested in handheld gaming and you're just looking for a spot to have access to almost everything. Well, you just need three pieces of hardware. True, like maybe even two, depending on who you ask. But you get, excuse me, you get the Nintendo Switch 2, got the Nintendo side covered, and maybe even the handheld side covered. You get the PS5, that's for Sony games. Assuming Sony doesn't go day and date, and assuming you don't want to wait years for their games. And then you get the Steam machine, like you said, for that versatility, where it's like I can play everything on Steam. I can download any, you have the freedom to download different operating systems if you want, different storefronts. And, when I paint that picture, see, what's interesting about, and that's what's so interesting to me, Josh, is what you just said. Because I asked you, like, what if Sony made PS6 exclusive games? Would that change how you feel about buying a PlayStation 6? So without exclusive games, you're existing in a space where I'm not going to buy the next PlayStation. I really don't need it. I'm good, you know? And you're actually even thinking about buying another device, again, the Steam machine, because it's offering the versatility of a PC in a compact plug and play box. If you're Sony, if Sony were to look at you and be like, "We don't want to lose that customer." The only way, and you're saying it would have to be a specific exclusive, Sony would have to have a wide breadth of exclusive games for the PS6, hoping that one of those appeal to you, and that's like, we got you. You know? Like reluctantly we got you, but we still got you. And maybe that would change the course for you where it's like, I wasn't gonna get the PS6, but there's this game that Sony dropped or revealed that's like PS6 exclusive. I gots to have it. And it doesn't guarantee that that'll be your main place to play. But for Sony, it's like, but we got you, and there's a higher chance now that you might buy more games on here. There's a higher chance you might continue to engage with PlayStation. To whereas the alternative is by having no exclusives, they just lost you. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the thing too about cross gen with the PS5 is like, so Sony, you're not going to put this game on the PS5. Sony's in a pickle, bro. I'm telling you, they're in a pickle with the next gen. Devil sure you're in the same boat. Could get a portal. Oh, that's true. Yeah. See, and that's it. Yeah, you're right. They could. They could. Josh could get a portal if he wanted. If he didn't have a PS5. Very interesting. It's very interesting times, guys. Yes. Oh, hold on. Hold on one sec, guys. Devil sure you're saying PC over PS6 as of right now? Well, I was on that topic longer than I expected to be, but it was an interesting one, at least for me. And it's just something I think we want to pay some attention to. We'll have to see what the future of this collaboration or partnership between Unity and Epic in the Fortnite metaverse. I'm telling you, man, the PlayStation Store, Astrobot's going to lead the way for Sony's own metaverse. You watch. You watch. They're gonna do it. They're gonna do it. They're gonna create a metaverse where it's like it's all Astrobot and the 30, 40, 50 year history of PlayStation, and You're gonna head to the Astrobot metaverse, and that's gonna be your gateway to the PlayStation Store. You know, any game you want to play or buy. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see what Sony does. Let's see where we're at. So we're approaching the 3.5 hour mark. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna start a 15-minute countdown for the members lounge. All right. And in this last 15 minutes, I'm basically gonna encourage people to gift memberships, become a member, uh, and we're just gonna hang out for a little bit. So let me schedule that now. I'll schedule it right at the 3.5 hour mark. And there we go. So when this countdown hits 0, we are going to be transferred over. We're going to be transferred over. Irfan, you sent a song. Oh, jeez. Wow, this is dude. Did he write these lyrics? That's interesting. I'm curious. Who is this by? Perfect Image. It looks like it's a rap. Maybe I don't know. I'll think about playing a Perfect Image. I want to try to encourage you guys to get to the 50 membership spot, and then we could play it. We're almost there though. I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to see. I don't think Silent Spartan's here right now. He'd probably get it for you guys if he was. But we are going to head over to the members lounge in 15 minutes. And what we're going to do there is a reaction. I came across this interesting video from Annie Austin where it's so fun. I watched like a minute of it because I'm like, what is this? And he's like, the two sides of GTA Vice City, and like how one side of GTA Vice City is actually kind of horrifying and scary and like very disturbing. And I'm like, this is really interesting actually. And, I figured, why not? We'll react to it. We'll talk about it with GTA 6 coming up in a year. If you sub on Twitch at the moment, you get 3 free months of Discord Nitro. Oh, damn. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know they do stuff like that on Twitch. YouTube's got to like figure their shit out, man. That's such great incentive for people to sub or gift sub. YouTube should really consider doing that for like memberships too, you know? Luna, what's wrong with you? You wanted to come in here. Now you want to leave? Hold on, guys. YouTube is basically the dollar store of live streaming. Man, don't tell me that. Yeah, I mean, you're probably right. I don't know. It's weird because it's all I really know. So to me, it seems pretty good. Like it could be better, but I'm like, yeah, it's not too bad. But I don't know. I say that, but if I were to actually start streaming seriously on other platforms, maybe I'd be like, holy shit, what the hell was I doing on YouTube? I'm afraid for that to happen though, because the whole idea of me streaming on another platform, even if I were to do multi streaming, is I'm starting from pretty much nothing. Like I have to try to tell you guys to go over there, and I have to figure out how everything works and manage it. I tried doing that with Twitch for like a week, and my god, dude, my brain melted. Like I'm not good at that side of it. I'm not good at the like how long it took me to like figure out how to like work everything on YouTube here, but it's known to streamers as the worst platform. Kick is even better for its chat function. Dude, how is Kick better? What's better in the chat? I'm curious. That's like what is dude, that's very sad to me. Maybe it would be different if I started off streaming. Like my whole thing is that I started with making videos on YouTube. Obviously, I think that's how everybody starts on YouTube. It's where I built my following. So it just felt like, well, they offer streaming too, so I guess that's where I should stream. Hold on one sec here, guys. The chat is basically the same as Twitch is. It's a carbon copy. All right, let me. Irfan, you're saying MBG from now on, if any non-mod has songs that you want to play, tell them to send to my email. All right, Irfan. Thank you for that. Yeah, I'll try to. I think his song is. Now listen. I'm used to Rich Rod songs, and I've gotten used to Gaming Survivors. Like I know what to expect from them. So if I'm like definitely hesitant to play somebody's new song because I'm afraid somebody's gonna have a bad song. That's like turn that off, bro. Like Perfect Image. I'm not saying yours is bad. I haven't heard it, but we're taking a chance here. Okay. Yo, wait. Did That's really weird. Why does it say I have an upcoming stream? Okay. It's the member. I was very confused. I'm like, it's showing me that I have an upcoming stream, and I forgot. It does that with the countdown now. Okay. Perfect Image is like, yo, I'm trying. Yo, MVP Moss really needs to know. He's like, yo, I need the details, or you're all lying, guys. I don't know if we're gonna be able to do it, man. I'm begging for the memberships. I'm not really begging. I get it's the technical definition of begging, but I'm just trying to give a sense of urgency since we're going to be moving over because you cannot gift memberships in the members only content. What's interesting, even if you become a member, if you become a member while I'm doing a member stream, it won't notify me. Like it'll show it on the counter, but it won't like show up in the chat or anything. It's really weird. But yeah, you cannot gift memberships in the lounge. I'm sorry, Irfan. I'm sorry, bro. If I could make an exception for you, I would. YouTube won't let me. All right, let's see. Perfect Image. Xbox, you're my girl. All right, guys. We'll have to see. It's 2 minutes and 42 seconds. I have no idea what this sounds like. Perfect Image. I can't guarantee I'll play the whole thing either. We'll give it a test.
She left me for Steam, yeah, she switched up the scene. Game past 30 a month, that's a broke boy dream. No handheld PC, she thinks she's supreme. I said I ain't buying no PlayStation queen. She was my console, now she cloud in the sky. Says she playing on Ultra, but she living a lie. Talking about frames, talking about speeds, but her love got lag, no connect with me. Wallet got taxed, she called that upgrade, I call that betrayal. Next gen fade, used to split screen, now she split the team. I'm just scrolling through life, trying to clear my steam. She left me for Steam, yeah, she switched up the scene. Game past 30 a month, that's a broke boy dream. New handheld a PC, she thinks she's supreme. I said I ain't buying no PlayStation queen. She talking exclusive, but she playing with all crossplay feelings, now I'm taking that fall. Says she want power, I gave her the core. Now she running benchmarks, don't call me no more. I stayed real, stayed box, stayed green. She want cloud love, but I'm off that screen. Now my draw solid, no SSD tears. She can keep her updates, I'm done with her years. She left me for Steam, yeah, she switched up the scene. Game past 30 a month, that's a broke boy dream. New handheld a PC, she thinks she's supreme. I said I ain't buying no PlayStation queen. Yeah, she booted up fake, I rebooted my piece. I'm the real game changer, now I'm playing in release. She lagged on my love, now I'm stacking my green. I'm the boss of my system, she just lost in the steam.
All right, I think the rest of it's basically an instrumental at that point, but not too bad. Perfect Image, yeah. Oh, I love the idea. It's like the idea that They're treating like what is it, the Xbox or something like it's their girlfriend. Damn. But that was the first song from Perfect Image. I gave him a chance. Like I would have made you guys get to 50 members before I played that. But, Perfect Image free sample. She left me for PlayStation Portal, bro. That's funny. So guys, was Half-Life 3 announced yet? No. I'm not playing GTA Vice City, Chris Brown. I'm going to be reacting to an interesting video I came across about GTA Vice City. And it just so happens that I chose to do this on a day where it's exactly 1 year for GTA 6, which takes place in Vice City, to launch. So it's going to be another reaction members lounge. No way. Yo, Irfan, you're messing with me. You're kidding. I think you got me, Irfan. I think you got me on this one. You got me to go and check. I think you got me. I'm not saying a single thing about it. Damn, Irfan, you actually got me on that. I believed you. I'm like, really? Holy shit. Because it feels like that could happen. Like that, it feels like that could happen. Although there was this leak. I don't know if it was removed. I think it was removed from the Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit. I should probably delete my tweet about it then. If it's still up. Oh my God. Okay, this was damn. Sometimes I'm too quick with the Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit, dude. I think I'm gonna have no choice. I have to delete this tweet. It's a shame because it did trend, but I put it up. It seems like somebody trolled. Ah, I fell for it, dude. Basically, somebody put up a post on the Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit a couple hours ago. Possible Half-Life 3 page on SteamDB. It updates very actively today. Has the same start window as has the same start window as Shapiro's Blast from the Past interview about his extremely important project, and has Half-Life Alyx as a dependency. And I posted this 3 minutes after I came across it, or it was posted on the Gaming Leaks Rumor subreddit, and it seems like it was deleted, and this was just somebody trolling. So yeah, I'm gonna have to delete it, I think. Man, there's nothing more painful than when you get a tweet that trends. But it's like, sorry, man. It ain't real. It ain't real. Yeah, I'm gonna delete it. Man. It's all good. Guys, we got 2 minutes. 2-minute warning. Can we get 5 more members? Can we do it? 5 more. Who wants to drop the 5 bomb? We could at least get to 40. Round it off, man. I don't like sitting here at 35. It makes me feel weird. We need 1 5 bomb. Can we make it happen? We got 1 minute and 30 seconds. I'm freaking out. I'm panicking. Awkward silence. You got 1 minute. In 1 minute, we're going to be automatically transferred to the members lounge. It's going to be a reaction stream. Luna, you good? Come on, guys. We got 1 minute. I think we could do it. We could do it. I'm Starting to sweat. We're at the 45-second mark. Oh, man. But yeah, guys, thank you for tuning in. I want to give Devil Shooter a shout out. He does the timestamps. If you guys see him in the comments with those timestamps, give him some thanks, show him some love. Thank you to everybody who dropped support today. If you dropped a membership gift, if you became a member, super chats, direct donations, we're fan funded. I can only do what I do because you make it possible. Thank you guys so much. I will see my members in the lounge. Everybody else, I'll see you in the next one. Good thing, Irfan. I agree with that, Devil Shooter. Yeah. But all right, guys. I'll catch you in the next stream tomorrow. All right.